Hi, everyone. Welcome. We are here today to do this interview that I was very excited. I'm still very excited to see what he's going to answer. I have a lot of questions for him. Thank you, Loic, to come over here to accept my invitation.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. We were talking a little bit before, and now I want to ask you, how did you arrive to this diagnosis? How did you know you had that, diagnosis?
You know, very often people assume that a psychopath don't even know he's a psychopath. And what people don't understand is okay, you don't know that you are a psychopath because you are not a psychologist, psychiatrist, but you know that you are different. That's why you need to adapt yourself and you need to wear what we call a mask. And you gonna know pretty quickly in life that you're different, that you don't react the same way, you don't feel the same way, and you don't see life as the same way. So it's very quickly that in life you understand that, and your family gonna understand that too very quickly.
Wow. But in your case, how did you go to that diagnosis? Did you go to a psychiatrist because your parents told you, let's do it? Some situation that happened that they said, hey, something is not right, we need help. What happened to you?
That was both. You come to a point in life when you get some problems sometimes, and one day you need to learn about yourself, because the better things you can do in life is to know as much as possible about yourself. And I was like, maybe I'm different, but that's okay, because if I'm different, I want to live with it and to be okay with that. I'm pretty lucky that my parents are pretty open and just accept me like the way I am. And my parents was sometimes like that. It's very strange the way you act with girls, the way you are never in stable relationship. The instability and the impulsivity of life too, doing some studies and stopping school, etc. That was quite a mess sometimes, and pretty quickly you understand that you are different. You tell to yourself, and your parents are like, it's sometimes difficult.
Yes, and I saw some interview that you did before that you mentioned that some people in your family that also had psychopathy. Can you say something about that?
Yeah, because psychopathy is genetic. It's both social and genetic, but there is a lot of part of genetic in it. And my grandfather, sorry, was psychopathic, and the brother of my mother is a real scammer. I want to say he got a lot of traits of psychopathy, and it just scammed my mother. When my grandfather died, there's the thing with the money, etc. It just took away the money, and we never heard of him. So this is a common trait of psychopathy. A lot of psychopaths are scam artists, etc. Not all, but in my family, it's pretty genetic.
Yeah, I'm learning a lot about that too. I interviewed another lady from Brazil last week that she got that diagnosis too, and she said that her father was a narcissist, grandiose narcissist, and she had some other people in the family, and that's very good for us to learn, to know, because
Yes,
we want to know more how that works, how that, like you said, you felt you were different, right? What was the first time you felt that? You remember how old were you?
the first time I understood I was psychopath. Oh, but maybe I was 6 or 7 years old. I don't even remember. I was pretty young. I was like in the dining room of the school, and there was a, a boy into my classroom. And he died in a dramatic car accident. And we were all in this dining room. A lot of people were crying, etc. I was like, what just happened? Guys, what just happened? And I was not understanding that people were sad. And at one moment, the director of the school just came and said to herself, "Okay, guys, it's dramatic. A little boy just died in a car accident." And all other person in the room were like, "Wah," etc. Start crying and was like, what the fuck, guys? I don't understand what you are feeling. And but that was the first time I was masking, and I was like, because I never gonna forget the look of my teacher. She was looking me in the eyes, and she was understanding that I was not feeling sad, and I was like, okay, maybe I need to do something because the others are crying, I'm not crying. And when you're a psychopath, it's more a question of survival, of adaptability, because you are not wired as the same way as others. So you quickly understand that for your good and to survive, you need to adapt because you are not like the others. And you understand that pretty quickly.
That's interesting. Thanks for sharing. So you realize at that moment, and then since then, you start masking, you start looking at people, what they do, when they do. So here I'm supposed to cry. So then you start faking it, like crying and saying things that you're supposed to say.
Yes, yes. And this is the time when you understand that your life is gonna be pretty, you're gonna feel exhausted. So, because sometimes you feel tired of masking and doing some things that you don't feel, etc. But people often think that we don't feel, and that's quite false too, because very often people think that we are just like a stone or something like that, that don't feel something. This is quite different because we can feel. If we don't feel, we are not alive, but we feel different in different ways. And very often people say, but yeah, but you cannot feel that. You cannot feel that. Very often people ask me, what is your taste preference? Do you have taste preference? Is it possible for you? I'm like, yes, it's possible for me. And people don't understand.
Wow. Let me ask you something here. When you realize that, did you thought about saying something to your mom or dad, hey, I feel like I'm different, or it was something maybe a little unconscious at the same time, that you just go live your life as the way you think you're supposed to be accepted by the society, or you try to say something to someone or anybody that you met since today you are 26, right?
Yeah,
Yeah, you got your diagnosis 2 years ago, right, or 3 years ago.
3 years now. 3 years.
Or anybody that came to you and said, hey, I feel I'm different, and you say, oh, maybe you like me, or something like that, that happened to you before or not?
Now with interviews, yes, it happened very often. Very often people, guys and girls, because we often assume that it's more a boy thing. That's not the case. I got a lot of women that come to me and tell to myself, okay, I'm just like you. And I'm like, goddamn, there is a lot of girls that are psychopathic too. But as society, etc., we tend to not seeing it the same way in girls. Maybe we're gonna say to the person, ah, she's borderline, but in fact she's psychopathic, narcissistic. But I'm pretty lucky, as I said, that my parents are pretty open, and I've always got a good conversation with my parents. They always told me that we can talk about everything. So I was like, I feel sometimes I'm different. And they were like, yes, but in which way? And I'm like, that doesn't matter. Because, sometimes it's quite difficult for others to understand because they're going to say, oh, you just seek attention, stop that. Sometimes it's difficult, and that's why you need to maybe eye yourself or something like that. Get what you want in life. And in the first place, I was living my life without asking question, because when you are a psychopath, you live on the moment. You don't ask too much question. you feel pretty good about yourself. You don't really suffer about it.
Yes, I heard that you guys don't feel sadness and depression. What do you feel the most?
I want to say frustration, frustration, and the thing for myself. I speak for myself. The thing I prefer the most is loyalty, and that makes me feel, I want to say, happy, because that's the thing I appreciate the most. So we cannot feel really sadness, depression. That's quite an edge, I think. But we can feel not depression, but some days you can feel shitty. You haven't slept good, and you tell yourself, "Oh, that's a shitty day," etc. But you quickly get off the thing, and for the rest, I think we can feel happiness, we can feel joy, we can feel all the positive emotion.
But not love and empathy, right?
Empathy is not possible for us because the brain is wired differently. So it is not a question of not trying, it is a question more of impossibility. The brain cannot. It's just like a blind person who cannot see. It's impossible. And some people are going to tell to yourself, but do an effort, be more empathetic or more less colder. And you tell to yourself, it's impossible for me. I cannot. I cannot. But I think it's very difficult for people to understand because it is in the brain and we cannot see it. So love, yes, we can love in all way, I want to say, maybe possession, uh, something like that.
Okay. Do you fear anything?
Of not being successful, maybe, but fear something. No, when I cannot feel danger, I cannot feel anguish, and so fear something. I cannot use the word fear because if I was fearing something, I would probably not be here and talking about my psychopathy in front of so much people.
Yes, and that's a good thing that you're saying. What really motivate you to come over here and to give the other interviews that I watched before? What is the motivation for it?
The first thing is that I was so tired of hearing a lot of people saying, "Ah, psychopath, they're just serial killer, they're just rapist, etc." I was like, stop. And I thought to myself, maybe I can do something about it. Maybe it can help people and help me by the way. So that was pretty obvious for me to start doing interviews and to give the speech, etc., to help people and to understand that psychopaths are not all bad person, and sometimes psychopaths, sorry, can do good things and can help society. That's my belief.
Okay, so I just want to let you guys know that he is in Belgium and he speaks, say the language they speak there, please. He was
French,
talking to me.
German, and Flemish.
Okay, and you also speak English?
I speak English, I speak French, and some words of German.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah, pretty cool.
Yes. Another thing, the lady I interviewed that she got the same diagnosis, she said the things that she feels the most is anger,
Yep,
boredom,
yep.
and frustration. Frustration when she cannot get what she wants, right? She says she cried before, but only for anger, like when she get frustrated for not getting something, but not crying as us when we get sad and things like that.
I think it depends on the person, but for me, it's really difficult to put me in a state of anger. I'm pretty calm. I'm a pretty calm person, but it depends on the situation. If somebody that I don't appreciate, I'm gonna let the person know it. But I can be more feel anger more quickly. I want to say, but I'm not in a state of anger all the time, not in a state of boredom too, because I work a lot, and if I don't work, I can feel boredom, and that's where the frustration come, and that's where you feel irritability, you feel anger, and something like that. And so, I think working all the time is a good thing for psychopath because you know it gives the positive, and you try to hide the negative inside of you. I think.
I agree. I agree because usually what they tell us is they do manipulation and things like that to get out of this boredom state, right? Because they need to feel something, even putting themselves at risk and some other people too, because then this time, that's when they feel a little bit. When is
Yeah.
the time that you feel the most? Like I was going to ask you the last question about sex, but because you're a man, right? I know it. Is it for you the same thing as some people that they explain that you have this desire for sex more than normal people once more?
Uh,
And
yeah. I think the question is very interesting because if you look at it, sex is a good way to get dopamine into the brain. It's good dopamine reveals, I want to say, and it's a question so of dopamine though sex, but very often it comes with addiction to alcohol, maybe drugs, because if you look in the brain, it's quite the same reaction because it liberates dopamine. So we get more an attraction of dopamine than other people. Can be sex, can be maybe drug, cocaine, very often stimulant, alcohol. But I want to be honest, and maybe we can be quite more addictive to sex than other people because if you look at it, sex can be a good way of dopamine, of domination for some people. It's the first thing in the manipulation, when you get this first phase of beautiful, of quite romantic relationship, sex is the first thing. And it's, I think, a good way of getting dopamine, etc., for psychopaths.
okay, good to know. I heard you saying in other interviews too that the type of ladies that you used to look for,
Target. Yeah, yeah,
yes, was the ones that were depressed and didn't have their father anymore,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
But in your case, what would you looking to get from those ladies? Sex priority or something else? Because again, the lady that I interviewed, she's a woman. She said that she's always looking first for money and
Mhm.
also whatever she wants to get. Like she doesn't like Brazilian guys. She's Brazilian, but she likes guys from another country. So she will
Okay.
fake her. She used to fake her profile and talk to people. Let's say she wants to go to Italy, so she will make a profile there and talk to this guy saying, "Oh, I live close to you, but I'm on vacation in another country, or I live in the same country." But just giving some. You think you're laughing because you like that, right? I
No,
see.
no, no. But it's quite. How can I say that? It's creativity. It's quite creative. You need to think about that, and I just imagine the person getting the strategy and something like that. Takes time. I was not into that. I want to say, but in my past, I was searching for girls like that because a psychopath don't love to wait too much. If we talk about dopamine, it's quick, quick. I want to say reward or something like that because our brain is wired like that. It's in us, and we don't love to wait too much. We don't love to be challenged or something like that. Sometimes a psychopath can love challenge, but for my case, that was more a question of I want something and I want it now. So, you know, a depressed girl and a girl without a father was more attractive in terms of getting what I want, because somebody that got these types of, I want to say, things in life, they are more manipulative. And that was my case. But now for 3 years, I want to say I don't manipulate anymore.
Thanks God. I just don't know if I believe 100%, but
Mhm.
if your brain functioning like that, and if you need dopamine, if you're bored, what would you do? Stand to replace?
To work all the time, to work in politics, and to get what I can and to do the good. So I think the question of dopamine is not, because very often people are gonna say, okay, a psychopath need dopamine, but need dopamine for the bad. That's a question of selfishness, etc. But if you learn and if you work on yourself, you can get new ways of getting something in dopamine and making the good for others. I firmly believe that a psychopath can be so much powerful to do the good than another person, because if you look at it, if a brain is wired to get something and to never stop until you get it, just imagine at the end of a country to protect the people, it can be very effective.
Yes, because when I was talking to her, I was trying to understand. Okay, but you beautiful, you young, you can go and get it without manipulating someone to go to Italy. An example, you can get a good job, you can go with your own money. But
Yeah.
that's when she said, but I want it for yesterday. I want it now, and I want it in the easy way. I want it, I'm gonna get it no matter what, and nobody stays on my way because I'm gonna push her away. And if she
Yeah,
doesn't get it, she gets mad.
but I learned something is if you do that in that way, you always gonna pay the price. And I've paid the price, and I would just say that you always pay the price. And I'm so much happier and so much. I don't want to say I was unstable, but if you got this type of relationship, it's quite an instability. So I'm so much happier now to stay away from that, because yes, sometimes it takes more time to get something, but that's life. And with the therapy, you can learn about it, to retard gratification and to not get something in the moment, but you can work on frustration, something like that, because you're going to pay the price, and that's going to be far more expensive with manipulation, with problem with the police, etc. So I understood that.
Smart. I like that. But what do you do to get over it? Because I know the impulse comes, right?
Mhm.
How it's not easy for you guys because we have that break to push, but for you, because you want it now, you want it for yesterday. How do
Yeah,
you do that?
it's quite difficult. A lot of work, a lot of frustration, because when you go to therapy, it's not something that is a miracle. Therapy takes time, work, and try again and again. And sometimes you say to yourself, "Oh, just everybody got away from me because I'm going to stop the therapy, etc." But after that you say to yourself, maybe I can do better, and something like that, because there is a lot of thing in that. But I believe in something greater, and in my beliefs, I need to do something about it, and this is the break, I think, because you know you can get the thing quickly, but after that, and you're gonna search for quick things and another quick things, and this is all other psychopaths maybe function, but in myself, I got this inner voice telling me that maybe you need to suffer now. So it's quite difficult sometimes to break, like like you said, but after that, you tell to yourself that was a good choice because it's far better.
That's great. I was gonna ask you too, for the people that doesn't know much about it, what is exactly when you say functioning psychopath?
Mhm.
Can you explain for the people that don't know much about it yet?
I think that functioning psychopath is a difficult word. Okay, because people are gonna understand effective psychopath. What is the thing, guys? And in reality, a psychopath who is not functioning is a psychopath who got a lot of chance to. I don't want to make stigmas, but a lot of psychopaths are in prison. It's sad for them because I think they got a lot of people got potential, and a not functioning psychopath, I think, is somebody who cannot learn on his impulsion, somebody who is selfish. So for me, a functioning psychopath, that was to learn to not think always, to not think about myself first. And sometimes you need to put yourself maybe aside because some people need to get attention and to not manipulate them, I think, because people got this right to not be manipulated. And that was something I was not understanding. Look, I think functioning psychopath is to understand that others have rights. And that was so much difficult. That was difficult to understand that because I was like, okay, for me, in the past, a human being was like a rock, a stone, something that don't have emotion, a robot, you know? So I was like, I need to understand that these people can feel sad if I do bad things. That's my definition of functioning psychopath. Somebody who is capable of living without destroying anybody else and to not destroying myself too.
Wonderful. Do you believe for sure, like, because nobody knows, I was watching this show that was talking about, it's about 250 years that people are trying to figure it out when the serial killer gets catch and they go to jail and they start doing interviews and they start studying, the something that was similar to all of them. So they got to the conclusion until today, which I agree, that is a mix, multifactorial, which includes the genetic,
Mhm.
right? That you have in a family, the brain that has the amygdala. I think is that's the
Yeah,
way it
yeah,
says.
yeah,
Amygdala is 18% shorter, smaller than us. I don't know
yeah.
how you call common people, or I don't know how you call that, but us that feel love and empathy. And but still able to choose, right? That's
Yeah,
you giving here your testimony that it's possible, right? If you really
yeah.
want, if you do your work, you will be able to. It's possible. So the ones that say, oh, it's not possible, I was born like this, so it's not my fault, and they keep doing wrong and wrong and wrong and excusing like this, I don't think it's fair.
I see these people, I'm gonna say it, I see these people as weak, as I'm gonna stay polite, but I don't love them too much because everybody got a chance. Uh, you got the capacity to. If you got the capacity to screw somebody, you get the capacity to understand to not screw somebody. So, you know, I think that's a thing to with a functioning psychopath. It's interesting because it's to understand that you got what is called in French. You know, you got the will. You can decide what to do and what not to do. So when I hear these people telling, "Oh, that's not my fault. My mom was alcoholic, etc." For me, is it's like, guys, stop making an excuse because if I can make it, you can make it. She can make it. You can make it. Everybody can make it. Okay, some people are in situations that are pretty sad, pretty bad, but for psychopaths, there's not a lot of excuse. Okay, you lived maybe a traumatic childhood, but I believe that you can change not in the brain, but in the behavior. That's a choice.
Yes, yes, it's awesome. I
Mhm.
love that. So it's possible, even if you're born like that, it's possible to choose because free will, right?
Yes, that was the word, free will, because you get this free will. So I believe that if you continue to, maybe you go to prison, you get out, and you start screwing again. Man, that's stupid. You got one life, and you do that. So this free will in my therapy was something very important, because when you understand that, you're telling to yourself, "Oh, guy, there is so much possibility." Then I myself believe that screwing others, it's so, I want to say materialistic. It's stupid now that I see in my past. I was like, that was so materialistic, so stupid, so short term. And now with evolution, I still not feel empathy, but I'm looking to myself, and I'm pretty proud to telling to myself, okay, that's the work I've made on myself. And I'm like, wow, that's pretty cool, because no more selfishness, no more destruction of anybody else. So I think it's pretty positive. And every psychopath got the chance. Every narcissistic too.
Yes. So do you believe that psychopaths are born like this?
Mhm.
I start thinking that all of them, including narcissists and sociopaths, are born like this too, like the genetic side, and nobody checks their brain. I know they check the brain of the ones that go to prison
Yeah,
in some countries, but not in every country. So we don't have much to say that for sure.
yeah. Narcissism is, with the latest studies, is the studies start to show that narcissism is genetic too, especially grandiose narcissism. But all kind of narcissism, tends to be genetic. So if it's genetic, there is a good chance that you are born that way. So it's a different way of seeing things, because people are gonna say, "Oh, these are monster." Not really, but they do bad things, and the behavior is the behavior of sometimes a monster, but the person is not always a monster. The behavior is bad.
Yeah, that's something I still asking to God to answer me because I think
Yeah.
we're learning more and more. But also when I see the interviews, I see that they talk about the trauma in childhood.
Yeah.
That is something that also will, that's what I believe. I don't know for sure anything, but I was thinking either they all born like this, including narcissist, sociopath, psychopath, and what will change is what they live in their lives, in their childhood, in their family, the traumas they had. They, if you would become how do you say that? Sadism,
Well, yes, yes, it's sadistic.
sadistic, or if you're gonna be not so much like serial killers.
I think it's called epigenetic. There is the genetic, that is the gun, and the social environment is the bullet, and sometimes the trigger is pulled. So when you look at it, some some of them had bad childhood. I don't want to say that I had a good childhood, because my mom was alcoholic, very poor, etc. But I think every brain is different too. So people often think that a psychopath is that way, and there are not open, so much open, because if you see things like that, a psychopath is like that, but you're gonna miss the chance. You're gonna miss the whole thing, because every psychopath is different. Like every human is different. So a psychopath had a different childhood, but a different education, etc. So a psychopath is born that way, but if you got a traumatic childhood, bad treatments, etc., maybe you're gonna be more violent and more aggressive.
Yes. And also I was thinking either they all born like that and that would change the degrees um, for the childhood, an example, or nobody is born like that and something happened and then because they never receive or they have, then their brain are different than others because they never learned that. Because I was learning from this psychiatrist, a Brazilian lady. She's really good. She talks about this kind of stuff, and she said for you to learn empathy, that's why they don't diagnose before 18, right?
Hmm.
Because
Hmm.
your brain is still, so we don't know much about the brain functioning and all of those stuff, so we don't know for sure. But what makes you think, since you have the diagnosis and you see that you're different than others, what makes you believe more that you were born like that and not there was something made?
I always tell to myself because a lot of people ask this question: Are you born that way, or did you just become that way? Um, I always tell to people, just take, for example, the D-Day, during World War II, the landing on the beach, and you leave that day, and this is a real slaughter. There is blood everywhere, bullet that floating around, and a lot of your comrades died on this beach, and you get back to America or Britain, and you need to live a normal life. That doesn't make them psychopathic, and that doesn't make them narcissistic. So they were adults, but I don't think that a trauma or something like that can make you a psychopath. I believe that, yes, traumatic childhood can have a big impact. I believe. Maybe if you look, I don't know, I don't love to take these examples, but a lot of serial killers were so sad and so much bad treatments in childhood. So I think it can impact. But my belief is that you need to be born that way. Your brain is wired that way, just like a blind person. Their eyes is are different, or maybe there is a dysfunction, etc. And this is the same with empathy and the amygdala.
Yes, I wonder if the brain of the narcissist are similar too or not. Then we will find out if it's about the trauma too that makes it goes higher level or not.
It depends, because a narcissist can feel empathy. If you look at it, it just make the choice to not feel empathy because you are not worth of it. A narcissist gonna tell to himself, I'm so much bigger than you, so much better. That's who you are. I don't need to feel empathy for you. Psychopaths, we are different. I tend to see it as something funny with narcissists, because I see them. I've told it in an interview. I see them as weak. I don't need attention or the look of others to feel good, and the narcissist is pretty vulnerable to that. So I think their brain is maybe different in some case, but they can feel empathy in some case.
Yes, you never felt empathy at all. Because I was analyzing Ted Bundy when he was last day or
Yeah,
before that, but the last day when he knew for sure because he was so sure that he was gonna make it, that everybody was gonna believe on him because he believed
yeah.
in himself, right? And when he realized that wasn't gonna happen, he freaked out. He was afraid to die, of course, but where's the empathy for others? But he had empathy for himself, right? Because he was not wanting to die and he had felt sorry for himself.
I don't know if it's empathy or basic survival instinct. I don't even know, because uh, I want to assume that if I need to die tomorrow, I'm gonna not sleep very well, because it's a question of basic instinct. Maybe you're not gonna feel fear as the way others gonna feel. You're not gonna feel it physically. But you're gonna tell to yourself, "Wow, that's crap because I'm gonna die tomorrow." So I think we can care for ourselves. And this is very interesting because in therapy, I learned to care about others like they are an extension of me. So it's a question of they are me. So I need to care about them because now in my relationship in love, it's like that. The person is just an extension of me. Some people gonna say, "Oh, it's quite nocive or bad," but it worked for me.
That's good. If it works for you, it works for
Yeah.
us. And also another situation. Before he knew he was going to go to death penalty, they got him because they see bites on the person, the victim. So they got him to the dentist. So when he got to the place and he saw the chair, and he freaked out. Like I think it was loss of control because he didn't know what they were going to do to him, pull his teeth off or something. But he freaked out. I don't know if it was fear or loss of control, but it was interesting to me to realize the way they describe he got really really tense there. He didn't like it all.
Yeah, because I think he understood what he have done, but he understood what's gonna happen next. I think he was. I want to assume that, and he said the words would be game over. The game is finished. Now I cannot manipulate anymore. I cannot bite somebody anymore. So I think that was more like that question of man. The game is over, and I don't like to lose the game.
Wow, that's amazing because that's exactly what it is. Now it makes sense to me. And because you think somehow the same way, let's say,
Yeah.
right? Because you it's amazing because if you didn't say that, I was gonna keep thinking, oh, maybe he was afraid. Maybe he was, but no, it's really true that oh, game over. Now they're gonna know. Now they have proof.
It's funny because since my interviews, a lot of people told me to, make a job with the police to help them to catch somebody or to help them spot manipulation, etc. So I was like that. Maybe it's a good idea. Maybe.
And I love to do that too. I'm thinking about studying to be investigating the cases, the crime cases. I like that too. I don't know why, but I do like to learn the behavior of people. And since I'm talking to you here, I'm getting more answers. And I'm so grateful that you're being so open and saying, things that we would never know.
My
Okay, I
pleasure.
have few questions. I have few questions here, but one thing before we start. We are here almost an hour, but to start with the questions, I saw one of the interview that you gave that make me think about the traumas too, because you said when your mom got divorced, I believe your father left her or something like that. She started drinking. She started becoming alcoholic, and then she said things to you that you say
Mm.
it doesn't help when you are already a psychopath.
Yeah.
And so you understand that make something like maybe start to open more doors into the psychopathy.
Yes, I think because the story is my mom was starting to be alcoholic with my father. Was she was in a relationship. My father never drink alcohol. It was not alcoholic, but my mom was, and so my father told her, "Now it's over," because my mom was pretty violent and words, etc. So she was violent with my father in terms of physical violence. And you know when you are maybe 8 years old and you get the mother throwing your clothes on the street and etc., telling to yourself, "Oh, that was an error to get a son," etc., you tell to yourself, "Wow, is that life?" Is that? And even you are a psychopath, you see that as a betrayal because, interesting enough, now some therapy that I do, is with my family, with my mother, with my father. So I do um, therapy. I don't know how to say the word, but I do some therapy with them, and we do that uh, at four. So my psychologist, my psychiatrist, etc. And we discovered that when I was young, I was pretty much at 100% in the Oedip complex. I don't know if you know it, something. The Oedip complex, Oedipus complex, when a child is in deep love with the mother. So this is kind of interesting because it gives us so much answer. There was a complex invented by Sigmund Freud. I don't know if you know him. And it's a psychoanalyst in Europe that's very known. And he learned that all boy in a young and teenage, maybe more at the age of 2, 3, 4, very often they're gonna fall in love with their mother, and it's part of the development and natural things because it changed the boy toward a new state of being, etc. But for me, that was more complex than that with psychopathy because I was seeing that as a possession. So with my father, I was not letting him approach my mother. I was maybe 4 years old, and I was like that, "Father, don't touch me." And I was quite jealous with my mother, etc. A lot of boys make their Oedipus complex, and you'll search on the internet and you can learn about it. It's quite interesting. But for psychopath, when they do this complex, it's more question of possession, jealousy, and they can be quite aggressive when their mother is not to them anymore. And I was like, after that, when I grew up, there is this break with my mother being alcoholic, pretty violent, etc. So it doesn't help. I think childhood doesn't help when it's traumatic.
Do you What do you think made her go to this path? Because she was an alcoholic. Do you think something that happened in the relationship with your father or something with you? I want to know a little bit about you when you were a child. You say you like to play with fire and stuff. That's interesting
Yeah.
to me.
You know, she was pretty sad because she was abandoned by her father. And, this is kind of, I want to imagine that this is the kind of trauma that do so much bad things. And interesting enough, my mother was the type of person I was targeting, but when I was a child, I was not so mean with my mother, but I was sometimes mean with others, pretty egotistical, pretty not violent, but when we were doing some things, with the colors, when you are a child, you do some things. Uh, I don't know how to say it in English, the drawing, etc. And me, I was not doing that. I was taking the pencil and assumed that was missiles. And I was like on the sheet of paper of others. And they were like crying and telling to the teacher that I was doing that. And I was not drawing something. I was taking the pen as a missile and destroying the drawing of anybody else. And I was sometime in this thing of with the fire. I don't know how to say it in English, but it's it happened quite often with psychopaths. Fire, and I don't remember the three things, but there is fire in that and two other things. But
Being bad.
yeah,
Being bad is
also about
another
that.
one. And I saw in this documentary, um, but they say it's not, we cannot go through this and say, oh, every psychopath will do that, or every person that pees in bed and play with or and kill animals. Tell me about animals. Did you have, like, and even this with the kids in school, did you do that because just want to do something like you were angry and I'm not going to do everything that everybody tells me to do. I'm going to just do my way. Did you feel pleasure? It was a game for you?
Um, that was a game because I was doing war, and I love. I always loved doing war. You know, war games, war stories, reading about that, and for me, there was like that pretty earlier. I was like, okay, guys, this is a war game, and we're gonna play. They were drawing. I was like destroying everything. So when I was a child, I was doing the war game with others. And when when you are into the break at school, maybe you got 15 minutes of break. Um, and I was doing snowballs with stone in that. I was like that, throwing snowballs with little stone in them, and I was throwing that in the face of others. I was doing that because for me that was war, and that was pretty obvious to do that.
Wow. And did you thought about or did you go to army?
No, never, because I was telling to myself, okay, I love that, but sometimes authority can feel pretty difficult for me sometimes, when this guy is yelling and all the things. If I need to have authority, it's only the superior authority, I want to say.
Yes. Do you believe in God?
Yes, I want to say the providence, something like that.
Did your parents were Christian or something like that? Do they have a religion?
Uh, my mother was Christian, I want to say, but I'm not going to the church because I'm not a Christian or some belief that are called esoteric, as the Christian would say. Uh, so I'm not a Christian, but I believe in something, and I think human need to believe.
Yes. So about the fire, I asked you right in private. I said, did you put fire in your house? Not that much, but I used to play. Tell us a little bit of the things that you realized since your childhood that you are different, other than those things that you say, if you remember anything else.
Yeah, but in the garden I was playing with the fire, and I can feel danger. So when I was playing with fire, that was not in reasonable way, maybe with a lot of gasoline, something like that. When I grew up, I was doing some Molotov cocktail in my garden. That was pretty dangerous. But after that, I just make some fireworks, homemade fireworks, because that was funny. There was a lot of adrenaline. But with the therapy, I learned that there was bad ways to get high sensation, etc. So my therapist told me that that was pretty dangerous to do that, and that was not in my best interest.
Okay, okay. Now let's talk about a little bit when you used to manipulate the girls, then you look for. I was gonna say exactly what you said. Those type of woman that you were looking for is just as you explain about your mom. Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
So see how things, Also, another thing that the other lady told me that the misogyny,
yeah,
it
yeah.
happens both sides. The ladies that are psychopaths, they don't like the men's, and the men's that are psychopaths, they usually hate women. And she said, I don't know how to explain that, but I realize that it works in psychopathy because I see that happening with people that I know too.
I don't hate anybody because you know that's interesting because very often people think that as a psychopath I am a sadist or something like that, and I always tell to people, how can I hate somebody that I don't care about? And this is the case for psychopaths. When a psychopath do bad things to another person, it is not a question of hate or sadism. Sadism is another classification of psychopathy, very rare. So when a psychopath do something, it's more question of I want to get that, and okay, but I don't hate anybody. I don't hate other women, and I never hate them because maybe the other psychopath you've interviewed hate guys, but I'm not in this kind of thing of hating other person, etc.
Yeah, I believe that every case is different because I had a friend that she used to tell me that she also is psychopath, and she said she saw her father abusing her mom and seeing her cry. So
Mhm.
she said in the past when she told me, she didn't say it was at that moment, at present moment, that
Yeah.
before when I used to date guys and they cry, I feel pleasure because she sees in there like her
Yeah.
father, like she was punishing her father. She knew, she was conscious about it, but she didn't tell me that. God told me that she was a psychopath. But I think that has something to do with trauma, not with everybody, right? But it's funny that you said that you were searching for the same type of lady that seems to be similar to your mom.
Yes, because I think, do you know Carl Jung, the psychologist? It's okay, but I think there is conscious and unconscious, and in his psychology and his way of seeing psychology, he believes that there is the personal unconscious and the collective unconscious. That's a different thing, but the unconscious is far more powerful than the consciousness. And I believe that something that you see or something that you hear or whatever, it's gonna make an impact on you. And in the case of this person, it's the pleasure she takes in seeing a guy cry.
Yes. And when you used to do that, like I see the cycle of abuse, the manipulation, love bombing in the beginning because you want to get the person to like you. So you're going to become the person that she desired to have, right? So
Yeah.
it's something you guys learn how to do. It's something that comes with the psychopathy because it seems to be very similar.
Yeah, I want to say that in the first place, it's an instinct. I'm gonna use a metaphor, but if you look at it, a baby wolf learn pretty quickly how to hunt maybe a rabbit or something like that. It's an instinct. But I think that with time, the manipulation is in us, but we can learn to perfect it because it's like maybe an investing strategy. You got to do something, doesn't get result. Okay, maybe we're gonna try something else, and manipulation after manipulation, etc. You start to understand that every manipulation is quite the same when you are targeting the same person. So when you do that, it's like I want to say of maybe the McDonald of manipulation. You just duplicate the thing because you see the person and it's like an instinct. In the past, I was looking to somebody, just somebody who was walking in the street. I was able to tell to myself, okay, this person is pretty manipulative. No, no, can be manipulated. Sorry, this person is pretty naive. Because the way the person, man or female, can walk that way, something like that, you can tell to yourself, okay, the body language tells that, etc. It's after that, it's all unconscious. You understand how people
Yes,
works.
yes. And because we not function like that, it's hard for us to realize when we are being manipulated.
Yeah.
Before, I'm telling about myself before, right?
Hmm.
But
Hmm.
now it's really clear to me. Okay, I have questions here. Let me start with them. In your opinion, what would be no, what would the world be like if everyone were a psychopath?
Oh man, that would be. Do you know the movie Hunger Games? Yeah, no, the famous game where They let you get out into the nature, get some stuff, and there is only one winner. This is pretty. No, it's a metaphor, but the world would be, I think, much more, I want to say, unstable a little bit, because just imagine if there is no social contract, man, that would be a mess.
What about if everyone were like us? How do you think the world would be like?
With empathy and etc. Um, that's a difficult question, because if you look at it, all the great the great leaders and etc. were able to do the bad work or something like that. Just imagine, maybe take Julius Caesar. He was able to conquer Gallics, etc. And he was doing war. You need to expand the borders, kill somebody, and if you are too much empathetic, you're gonna say to yourself, okay, we got this city, Rome, that is pretty beautiful. Why expand borders? And there is a guy like Julius Caesar who came to you and tell, we're gonna I'm gonna give you the greatest empire that ever existed on earth. But an empathetic person gonna say, yes, but that's not respectful of others, or that's not moral. And I believe that we need a combination of cold people and empathetic person. Need some um, combination of both, I think, because it's more effective.
Yeah, when it's used for good, right? When you guys use for good, then it's great.
Yeah.
Mhm.
The question is, what is the good and the bad? That is
God.
the real question.
I believe in God, so I believe in the Bible. So I follow what He tells is the right and wrong. Otherwise, it will be what I think it is, what you other people think it is. That's my view. That's what I believe. If everybody follow one thing, that is the Almighty One, that is the one
Mhm.
who says above, that is higher than everyone. I think that will be the best for this world. But it's gonna get worse than before it gets better because that's in the Bible too. It's part of the whole thing,
Yeah, yeah. Yes, and of course it depends on the god, because if you worship maybe a Nordic god, it's a god of war, a god of knowledge, magic, etc. The good is to do war, so it's a question of tradition and the god you worship. But it's a difficult question, the good and the bad, I think.
For me, it's easy, but I see that for you guys is different too. So, and that's when we got in shock sometimes
Yeah,
because we believe that the things that you guys do before get to the point you got that you just chose differently. It's not good, right? And would would you like us to do to you what you used to do, what most of the psychopaths do, right? Because you want
yeah.
something and then you pass over anybody. How do you see people, right? How usually, not you, let's say, how psychopath usually see people as an object. Now you see us different, or you still think we are like a object? How do you see us?
In the past, I was seeing people as object, something that is not really alive, in the sense of, I was telling to myself, they are maybe not feeling as much as they say, you know, but it's quite difficult, because you know that you are different and you need to mask. And sometimes you understand that people are not the same as you, but you tell to yourself, yeah, but that doesn't matter if they suffer, because they are, I was seeing people, I like to say stone, because a stone doesn't feel anything, so in the past there was something like that, very strange to understand that people can feel sad and can feel anger, if they are manipulated, something like that.
So you're saying that you used to see people as a rock? Is that what you said?
No, that's a metaphor for telling an object. I used to say when I was manipulating somebody, for me that was like taking a rock and throwing into a lake. You don't ask to yourself, maybe the rock is gonna feel bad or the rock is gonna suffer. That's a metaphor used to explain the process of not feeling the consequence and the suffer of others.
Yes, and it's funny because you see yourself as a person, as
Mhm.
someone that has, yeah, your feelings, but others, because looking as we are the same, and we have eyes, ears, mouth. I go to the bathroom, you go to the bathroom too. I take a shower, you take a shower. You need to go to the doctor when you get sick, we do too. So
Yeah, but in myself, I was telling, I get my shot first because everybody think about themselves, and I'm gonna say it in a bad way, but it's shoot before being killed. That was my way of saying it. I need to kill you before you kill me. That's the way of nature. And that was maybe now I can admit there was a justification to do manipulation and to do these egotistical things, because I was like, yeah, but you're gonna manipulate me anyway, so I need to manipulate you before you manipulate me. That was the way of saying things.
and this is another thing that I think has to do with traumas. Maybe it's unconscious, but I think it does. I think it does a lot. But it's good
Me-
to know. It's a good to know. Good thing to know. Let me go to the next one. Um, Somebody asked me to ask you, and you already said something a little bit, but for someone that may have a child, what would be the signs in a childhood that they can look for? Like, because I know the difference between a child that has psychopathy and doesn't have is more of this not feeling as the other feel. But if they don't say it, what are the signs that the parent can visualize?
Maybe
They,
you're gonna understand it by yourself because you're gonna see the reaction. You're gonna see maybe the ego. A child that is pretty egotistical, sometimes a form of narcissism, and a lot of manipulation. And that's the thing you need to understand. Even if it's a child, and especially because it's a child, if you go with them to therapy, you know, a child is an angel. Nobody would say, "Oh, this child got bad behavior," something like that. No, you tend to tell yourself, "This is a child; he's innocent." So you're gonna come to the psychiatrist, psychologist with your child, and you're gonna tell to the psychiatrist, "This is impossible to leave because he's so difficult, etc." The child gonna manipulate the thing, and the psychiatrist gonna end up by accusing you of not being a good parent. That happen quite often. That I got some emails of people telling me that happen quite often. Yeah,
That's amazing. That's true.
yeah,
Exactly.
yeah.
So it's not possible for the parent to figure out what are the signs for a child that has psychopathy that you can tell us. Behavior in school. Like the other lady that I interviewed, she said when she was a child, she would tell her mom, she throws something on the floor and say, pick it up and put it in my hands. Since she was 3 or 4, and she says she did that over and over and over. And her mom would go pick it up sometimes, but she got tired of it because all the time. And she said it had to be my mom. And if my father go ahead and pick it up, and bring it to me, I throw it out again. And I would tell my mom, pick it up and put it in my hands. Even if she put it on the table, no, it had to be on her hands. So she was very like demanding and she didn't accept anything. Like it had to be her way. Were you like that a little like your parents tell, put these shoes or use these clothes and you don't want to do it, you do your way and you manipulate them with their emotions to do what you want?
I was more easier to live, I think. I was more easier to live because, um, I understood pretty quickly that in life, when you ask something with a good smile, you often get it. So that was not like I'm gonna throw something and get me the shit in my hands, because no, I was not like that. I was asking with a good smile. I was more in manipulation, pretty young, so that was more things of getting these things without being arrogant and something like that. So that was quite different, but very manipulative too, but quite different.
So this is a big sign in a childhood that the parents can see in daily basis that they manipulate, they lie in school,
Yeah,
they have
yeah.
some problems in school. About animals, did you had anything to do with the animals? Did you like or dislike or try to hurt them sometime in
No,
childhood? No?
never, never. Because one day I remember I saw a dog dying, but I was not sad of it. I was like, that's life, that's life. But now I have a dog, and you got a psychopath can have this pretty good relationship with a dog, because if you look at it, a dog is innocent. He's loyal. He don't want you to wear a mask because he don't think about it. So I got this pretty good relationship with my dog.
That's nice. That's nice. And I keep thinking, remembering about a few friends that I had that they had animals. One of them, she didn't like the animals. I could see and tell. But later on, I think it was some advantage for her. And then she got a dog. But yeah, it's always about you guys, right? How people will look at you. Another one, she got a dog because everybody that is empathic, they have animals. So I'm going to have animal too. But you're able to take care of the animal, right? But not
Yeah,
love them, right? It's just like
yeah,
about you. It's your dog. It's my dog. Like it's you. When you talk about your mom, it was like a possession, right? And my mom, you were jealous
yeah.
even about your father getting close to her. It's possession.
Yeah, yeah, but with the dog it's pretty much the same, and especially with the dog just want one thing: to be your dog. It is its way of seeing life. So with my dog, it's a pretty good relationship because he's protective with me. I protect him. This is the thing. I just want to eat, to live with me, being with me, and this is so much simple, much more simple that human relationship. So I think we can care about them, we can protect them, but loving them is quite impossible for us because our brain is not capable of doing that.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, let me see what else I have here. And if you have anything that you're thinking and that you want to say, feel free to do it. If you remember something or you want to speak out, just it's okay for me, okay?
Thank you for having me and and letting me speak.
No,
Uh,
we thank you for doing that, for giving your time. I'm enjoying a lot, learning a lot. Okay, and what about in adulthood? What are the signs, the big red flags that we can, oh, maybe it's a psychopath, just by, I see you talking about in other videos too, that is the appearance, right? First impression. So what else can you share with us that would be a red flag for us to find out it's maybe it's a psychopath?
like I said, first impression, and uh, I want to say, this type of narcissism, but not. It's quite difficult because there is the narcissistic that is narcissist. The guy is looking at himself in the mirror, etc. But I want to say with a psychopath, it's different, much more bigger. Something. It's like I'm touched by God. God just touched me by the hand, and a person can understand that. Sometimes you're gonna tell to yourself, this guy God is in the psychos. He's not connected to the reality, and no, this is just a person who is very narcissistic. Um, I want to say again first impression because people don't understand how important this because our brain is wired in a way to make a decision in maybe 2 or 4 seconds. And in that time, you make the first impression, and the person got this first impression of you. And to change this first impression, especially impressions that are made with emotion or faith, it's practically impossible to change the mind of somebody who is convinced by emotion, etc. So when we hear first impression, um, it's something much more powerful than just saying hi. It's something that is quite, I don't want to say unnatural, but something more powerful, something like a feeling. The person who's going to be the victim in the manipulation going to say, what just happened? This person got something, and this is something you need to live, not to understand. I want to say that.
Mysterious at the same time.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. I can understand a little bit because I had few people that are friends and some in family too, and some as guys that I date before. So it's just a confirmation, right? It's amazing.
The
And what is
problem
your,
is
sorry.
the problem is that you understand too late in a manipulation. Quite often, you're gonna tell to yourself, maybe there is some inconsistency, something like that. But in the end, your instinct is right. So at the same time, first impression is important, but people need to trust their instinct. The instinct is simply there to protect you, I want to say. In the past, your instinct telling you to run away, you run away, you don't ask question. So people need to trust them in more something intern, more based on instinct and trust the instinct, not the appearance of somebody else telling them, oh, I'm trustworthy.
Yes, exactly. But what happened to us, since usually people that get into a relationship with psychopaths, narcissists, sociopath, they usually had a background from a parent, either a mom or dad that also had some kind
Mhm.
of narcissism, right? So they already blamed themselves. They already doubted themselves. So when you get to someone and then you feel that, I'm telling by my own experience, I feel something like that person showing me something that is not good, and I go, Chris, why are you thinking about like that about this person? And I start thinking, maybe I am the bad person. I'm judging this person. How can I do that? I'm bad, you know? But
Yeah,
no, it's like God showing me something is not right there. And I'm feeling bad about myself to judge because I don't want to be um, injustice. I don't want to cause
yeah,
any, because I
yeah,
have
yeah, I see.
empathy and I can make mistakes too.
But I think a manipulator, not especially a psychopath, but a manipulator in general, are gonna use that things of feeling remorse or something like that. This is something very powerful. But if I can give an advice to people, very often I can hear, "Oh, I'm gonna teach you about manipulation," something like that, and they talk about um, some points like remorse, like fear mongering, playing on fear, something like that. And I always told to people, manipulation is just a question of one thing: trust. It's just a question of trust. And very often, you got this person telling you that, oh, my brother gonna play on remote, etc. And it's right, but it's being focused on just one side of the manipulation. But the bigger goal of a manipulation is just to gain trust. If you gain trust, it's like somebody who's gonna buy a car. If you gain their trust, they're gonna buy the car. So with a manipulation, it's exactly the same. You just need to get trust. And when somebody is trusting you, oh, is that even possible that somebody who is trusting you is not gonna give you what you want? A person like that not gonna tell you, "Oh, I'm trust you, but buddy, just fuck off, or just get away from me." That's not gonna happen.
Yes, exactly. I ask if you believe in God. Do you believe in Satan too? Do you think he's real, existed?
I think a lot of people blame Satan for bad things, but at the basis, it was just an angel, a fallen angel. So I think very often people blame this guy for all the bad things on earth. It depends what you call Satan's. Some people call me Satan's. Some people call me that.
Why? When they call you like that? Why?
Because some people assume that something demonic inside of me, something like that. But if God exists, yes, Satan exists. But I want to say that my beliefs are quite complicated. So I think for Christian, maybe my God is the Satan.
It's more like the behavior, right? Because if you look, I don't want to get into that so deep because it's not the point. But if you look what Satan did, he want to be more than God. He manipulate 30% of the angels to get on his side. He
Yeah,
thinks he's the best. He's, and what he does, he manipulate those people. He does, the behavior is very similar to the people that were born like this or not born like this is very similar. There's no doubt about it. But
yeah.
as you said, free will, we all have choice to choose to do it or not to do it. And I think that's what God looks. But most of the people with that diagnosis, they don't care about God. They think they are better than God. They are God, right?
Uh, hmm. I think that um, yes, we can believe that we are God. That's a belief too. It's called Gnosticism, and that's part of my belief sometimes because it's, I said, considered as occultism, etc. But I think this is a very stimulating way of seeing things, that we don't need to praise somebody because we already got the divine spark inside of us. So the Satans, it doesn't really exist because we are God. It depends on belief.
Yeah, that's why we're not gonna go too profound on this, but
Yeah.
it's good to know to give a touch, just to give a touch there. Okay. Let me see. Let me see the questions I didn't do yet. How do you see the narcissist? You said a little bit about it, but did you ever had a relationship with someone that is narcissist? No, just
No.
people that are
No.
codependent, right?
Um, I had not a relationship, but I don't know how to say it. That was not a relationship, but there was this good feeling with a girl who was borderline, and that was pretty good, but pretty intense. That was quite some time explosive. But at the same time, that was, how can I say it? So powerful. Something much more powerful than a relationship with a normal person, I think.
Yeah. What is the biggest advantage and disadvantage of being a psychopath, in your opinion?
The biggest advantage to be a psychopath is to be pretty calm, to sleep well, um, to be capable of shaping things. You know, I believe that, like the psychopath you interview, you need to get this vision and to be able to make this vision happen. If you just think about screwing somebody in Italy, it demands determination. So I think the edge of a psychopath is determination. Those have doubts, when you're gonna start a project, you're gonna tell to yourself, "Oh, it's gonna make it. I'm gonna be successful, etc." A normal person would say maybe it's complicated, maybe and the psychopath doesn't have that. But in terms of disadvantage, I want to say that sometimes you don't understand others, so you cross boundaries and you end up in some bad position, like you're gonna say something and you're not gonna understand that that was not correct to say that, so you don't always understand other. And I think you are pretty impulsive, so impulsivity is quite dangerous sometimes.
Yes, and it's funny for me to hear that because even when you say the advantage is about you, right? It's still
Yes,
about
because
what will be on your way and do something that is not as good as could be. That's interesting.
yeah, you can escape your nature. Uh,
One second, let me close the door here.
you know, yes. I,
Yes, you can say. You want to say
it's,
something?
no, I
Okay.
listening to you.
Yeah, another thing that I want to ask you, if you did that once in life, because it seems like because chameleon, right? The chameleon that you guys transform yourself for the person for what the person wants to see,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And I go and think, so they don't have identity. I don't know how to say that. Oh my gosh, identity.
yes, yes. We have an identity, but the thing is, nobody really knows what is the real identity. It's more like you know who you are, but others never gonna understand that. So you got this strong identity, because I believe that to being narcissistic and to be self-centered, you need to know why. So you need to know who you are, to do what you do. But other person, the person in front of you, is never gonna really know who you are. But since therapy, I tend to be very honest. I telling people I'm this way, this way, this way, and I work on that with therapy, that, and this is my capacities. And sometimes people accept me, others don't, and that's okay for me. I understand.
Yes, I'm saying this because I had one person that I was in a relationship that it was one case that I had two friends, both with psychopathy, right? Maybe one was not psychopathy, maybe just sociopathy, and the other one was psychopathy for sure. So I talked to this one without knowing nothing about their diagnosis, right? So I talked to this one, and she tells me, "Oh, if one day I divorce my husband, I'm gonna um, tell my husband to do the surgery to not have any more child because she wants when he dies the money will be just for her child, right, the ones that they had together." So I was like in shock, but at the same time I was trying to process that in my head, right? So I'm talking to the psychopath now, and I was telling her, I said, because, but I didn't say who it was, but I say, once my friend said this. You know what she did? She got that idea from this one that I told her, and she made her husband to do the surgery because she already knew she was going to divorce him. But you
Yeah,
know what happened? Because God is bigger. right? It's not, because sometimes psychopaths, they think they have control about everything, but it's not how it is. So she wants to control that, so she makes sure the money will be for her kids only, not sharing with anybody else. He married again. She divorced him. He married again, and he went to the doctor and, revert the thing, and he had kids with the lady. So we're playing the whole thing, like the serial killers too, or all the other that do for bad. They playing and they do, but in the end, what they go? Electric chair, death penalty, or they get catch. It might work for a while, but it's always a consequence for us too, right? We can do things that are not good, and we are also gonna have consequences.
Yeah,
But
but it depends of the way of seeing life, you know? Maybe you're gonna go on the electric chair, but yo, that was funny, you know? We had a pretty good game. It's like, how can I say it? You know, just take examples of sometimes great leaders. You're gonna rise by genius and falling by hubris. That's a philosophical concept, and y- you know, it's a way of seeing life. You know, you're gonna die. Okay, maybe, but now I've made history, and you know, this kind of believing. Maybe the guy is killing a lot of person, but is going to electric chair. But hey, you know, we had a good game together, and this is the end of the story. And maybe very often for a psychopathic serial killer, I believe that they want to be caught because, you know, it is the final piece. You know.
yes, exactly. And Loic, tell me something. I studying about all of those cases. I see they say the beginning it starts with the fantasy. Usually has to do with sex. Most of them, not all of them, right? Jeffrey Dahmer, Teddy Bundy. The other one, the Iceman, was different. And it's funny for me too because Jeffrey Dahmer, when I compare him to Teddy Bundy, BTK, and few other ones, you see Teddy Bundy, the narcissist, so big in there. BTK, the same kinda. Teddy Bundy was even more. He was so charismatic and all the and he had this thing that is, I'm good, I'm the best, right? But
Yeah.
when you go to Jeffrey Dahmer, I don't see that on him. The interviews he gave, it was like, but one thing that I see similar with all of them is like it starts with the fantasy, and then they start thinking or drawing or planning, and all of a sudden they fighting with that because they know it's wrong, but at the same time they have the desire deep inside, and they try to go even to church. I don't know if it's all a manipulation part of it, but it seems like they try to not go ahead and practice that. When happens the first time, then they get addicted to it, and then they still
Mhm.
fighting when they goes off the moment that comes there, that sometimes they say is the demon that comes and take over there. I don't know if they blaming the demon or if it's really something like that, because how can a human being do such a thing with others, even because for me my mind doesn't get inside that you're not having the capacity to love and feel empathy, automatically you're gonna do things like that.
Mhm.
You can not feel and be doing your job and find things that you can feel adrenaline, but not this kind of thing. This is evil. There's no doubt about it, right? So they have pleasure in doing things that are evil. And they say after they do once, twice, it's no, they only stop when they get caught, when they go to
Mhm.
prison. And that's what you say. It's true. It's kind of, they know what they're doing. Teddy Bundy told you, one of the ladies, he told her, you cut your hair? I don't know why. I don't know why he didn't kill her. She said, how he knows I cut my hair? He was watching her for a while. So because she cut her hair, he told her to leave. So she was lucky. It was God protecting her, I believe. But then he told her, never again go inside a car of the person you don't know, because it can be the last time. So he was kind of helping her. Once he wasn't like, why did you got in a car? He knows he's gonna. It's they say it's stronger than they can control. It, even if they wanted to, it was not gonna be possible.
I think for them, it's at the end, it's kind of drug. You know, you know, you take more risk. It's funny for them. They do things, and they see this is dangerous. There is the police searching for you, and you can play a game, and maybe you can uh, manipulate others and the police, etc. I think for them, it's something that can give them so much power for a while, you know? Uh, okay, they got devious behavior, especially with sexual tendencies. But I think these people, when they get caught, the only thing that they're gonna tell to themselves is it was the final piece, you know, because it's like something that is for them, I think, artistic, because they got all the plans, they got their strategy, and they know that people gonna search for them, learn about their behavior, their victims, etc. So I think there is part of narcissism, and when they get caught, this is the final piece of their masterpiece, and I think they are happy with that.
And what is their masterpiece?
Well, there are deviants about their way of doing these things, because very often, if you look at it, they got strategy to kill the person, and very often it's quite impressive to other people. So they know they're gonna impress you. They know they're gonna make the headlines of the journal, because very often when you hear these type of killing, we're gonna speak about that, and they are in the unconscious mind, you know, popular conversation, etc. So they know their masterpiece is not something. I believe that they are in this thing of, yeah, but you know, I had a bad childhood and I tried to make my best to do something in life, and now I've done these things, but I'm pretty proud of myself, because you know it requires some intelligence to do that. That's what they are maybe thinking into the head, I believe.
Do you think it's maybe in their childhood they heard they were not able, they were not capable, they were controlled by their parents, either mom or dad or both of them, and now they have this need to control, to have dominance, to have that lady there and do this like have control of this life. I do whatever I want. I am in control. Because another thing too that I want to ask you, but I don't want to put one thing on top of the other. But before I forget, Teddy Bundy and few people that I got relationship with, they always need to be VIP first in my life. So they need to be my best friend or my only love, and that has to be amazing. And oh my gosh, I lay myself on the floor, step on me, it's only you, more than God,
Mm-hmm.
it makes me think why they have this need to be special and feel important, because maybe they don't feel important deep inside. An example, and I will let you talk. Teddy Bundy was so mad that he was being treated the same as all the other prisoners. For him, that was the end. How come? Because he didn't feel important. I don't know how it is for, they don't care about it, right? Psychopath, serial killer, they don't care about feeling special.
You need to see it in the other way. A psychopath feel important, and it is not a question of others seeing them as important, you know? So the thing is, for a narcissist, I need you to see me as somebody very important, you know? And for a psychopath, it's quite simple. Oh, you don't see me as somebody who is important. I'm gonna make you understand it. That's gonna happen. What's gonna happen? For a psychopath, it's pretty simple. Oh, you don't respect me. I'm gonna make you respect me. Oh, you are not in admiration in front of me. Okay. So for Ted Bundy, I believe that the thing was, oh, can you not treat me as somebody as important? Um, in my belief, it was like, oh, these stupid people cannot understand my value or my intelligence or my person. I think that was his, that was his belief.
But why? Why you need to people to look at you and think you are that good for you to be able to manipulate and get what you want, right? I mean,
No,
not.
because it's all in our nature, you know. So when people don't see us like that, we just tell to ourselves, "How is that even possible? Oh, can you not see the evidence?" You know, uh, that's why I talk about quite a bit psychosis. You know, as a psychopath, do you see an attraction? You know, all the mirrors that deform makes a different vision. As a psychopath, you see things like that, and you're gonna see yourself as the most important person on earth. So when a person is not seeing you that way, it is not a narcissistic wound like a narcissist is gonna be in anger, is gonna destroy all the room, etc. No, no, for a psychopath, it's more like, you stupid person. You don't understand what is the real value of somebody exceptional. And this is because you are stupid. And this is more the mind of a psychopath. So even I often see people telling in the comments or something like that, ah, what is the good thing to do in front of a psychopath? Is it good to piss them off, etc.? I don't think it's a good idea, because the psychopath is 100% sure that he is the better person in the room. A narcissist don't believe that. He believe, oh, I'm the better, and inside his head he's like, I'm a shit. So for a psychopath, it's like, who's gonna try? So who's gonna speak here? You know, when you're a psychopath, it's like that. It's like, who can tell the opposite? And even if you tell the opposite, they're gonna say, yeah, but because you're stupid. You know,
Do you think that could be related to some kind of defense, like a mechanism of defense to believe that? But because why you think you are the best? Like you think like that, and every psychopath think they are the best too. So who is the best? You know, who is really the best, right? Is not the best. In my view, I believe everybody has their own value. And but why you guys compete? You know, I don't know if psychopath is the same as the narcissist in this case. Comparison, competing with others. Oh, if somebody is the best politician, let's say you want to be the president, right? And then you want to be the best, and even when you get there, it's still not enough, right? It doesn't fulfill. It always some more, because you need to get more of that feeling, right? It never ends, right? That's what I heard from other people that I interview.
again, narcissists need to compete because they want to prove to themselves that they are the best. And a psychopath don't want to prove to himself that he is the best. He just want to make clear in the mind of others that something is evident. And you know, it's quite difficult because in us it is not a question of doubts. It is not a question of defense. It is more a question of offense. Uh, you talk about we all got a potential, and for in the mind of a psychopath, it's not really like that because I don't believe in equality. I don't believe in that because I think law of nature are something that can apply to human life, and in the nature you cannot tell equality. A wolf is not equal to a rabbit because the rabbit's going to be killed. That's life. So I think equality is something that human just made up because morality or something like that. But in the mind of somebody like me, a psychopath, you're going to tell to yourself there's no equality because I'm at the top of the food chain. So, this is the mind of a psychopath. And very often I see people telling, it's so narcissistic, it pissed me off. And I just tell people, oh, it works and something like that, because very often it's like that. And people gonna try maybe to make you change in terms of mind, etc. And you're like, yeah, but anyway, you know.
Yes, that's how it is. I remember a few people that I used to have in my life that is very similar to what you're saying about the respect. You want to be respected, and that's important for you, but you don't respect most of the people. What is the person, the type of person that is not like you, right? That you admire, or if you do, or if you respect, what would be the type of person?
Now with therapy, I think I can respect a lot of people because it's their right to be respected. So this is the first thing. But I believe now this is more kind of a contract, because you can get something and give something. This is the social contract. So you can give respect to somebody else, and maybe the person gonna gives you admiration, loyalty, etc. But you respect them, and this is kind of a contract. It's like with a leader. You're gonna have rights, you're gonna have opportunities, but you need to be loyal and etc. I think this is the way life works, etc. So in my way of seeing life, I really appreciate great leaders, etc. Like I mentioned,
Okay. Is there anything you would never do?
uh, something that I never do, that I will never do. Yes, kill somebody. I will never do that because uh, it's not in my interest. When you're in jail, it's pretty boring. So uh, I think only bad psychopath, but psychopath were not um, elevated in enough in terms of conscious and knowing themselves gonna do that.
Okay. Not even to defend yourself?
That's a different question. Because what we call in justice is legitimate defense. When you are attacked, you can respond. So it depends on the situation. I'm not letting myself being killed.
Sure. Us too. I'm curious about something. Did you ever do something good to someone without getting anything back? At even the time that you were used to manipulate. An example: if you are in a road and is an accident, right? I saw a video the other day and I got curious to ask you. So this car stopped in the middle of the road because the person that was driving had a heart attack or something like that. So the car started going slow. So I see people coming around trying to push the car to stop the car. If you're driving there, you're just gonna go, oh, whatever, I don't care. I have to go to work. If you have some plan, I know you're gonna pass by and just say, good luck, maybe. Or maybe go to hell. I don't know. But if you're in the situation there, if you're walking on the street and you're not going to anywhere, and then it happens, would you be the one that you want to go there and hit the glass and save the person? Not by just be the hero, but would you do such a thing just because you can do it?
Yes. Now with therapy, I've learned that sometimes it's not about myself to do that. It's about the other person. It's not a question of what I'm gonna get. It's a question of what the other person's gonna get without me getting something else. So it's a work on myself that took times in therapy, but now it's possible. If somebody is dying in front of me, I'm gonna help this person without wanting something from this person.
Yes. And that would be great if you go to the news and people say, "This guy is a hero. He saved this life," right? It would be even better, right?
If we can get both, that's cool.
Yes. Okay. Let me see. Any other questions here? I know I have one that I want to ask you too that I think is going to be very okay. Most of them I already. Can you explain a little bit with your words? What is the boredom that psychopaths feel? Is like an emptiness inside? How is that? Is it's not sadness, right? But is like it makes you irritated or anxious
Mhm.
about it?
Yeah, this is kind of situation when you are like, you're gonna sit in on the couch and you're gonna start to s- feeling something that is taking more and more place. It's really strange because you're like that, and in the first place, in the first 5 minutes, it's okay, and after that, you're telling to yourself, "Oh shit, it's really boring." And after that, maybe you're gonna say to yourself, I would serve to myself a glass of whiskey sometime, because you're gonna tell to yourself, I feel this thing inside, and this is really. I use the word sad because you are like that, yeah, and you need to do something, because if you don't do something, uh, it's very difficult for us to do, not to do. You see what I'm saying? To not do something, it's really impossible for us to imagine, because you stay in this state of, you got this maybe bad impulse that can come, maybe a glass of whiskey, and why not taking the car and go at 200 kilometers on the highway? Sometimes this is the kind of thing you tell to yourself because you want to do something.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Do you want to marry and have kids?
I would stay humble and tell that child of genius very often end up in bad situations. So, but I think, only joking. But I want to say that yes, because getting a child is something important in life, because there is something after you, something that can come after you, and the answer is yes. I want to be married with somebody, and have this relationship, this fusion with somebody else, and maybe have a child.
Do you think you're going to be a good husband, a good father?
The ancient version of me, no, but now I believe that I have the capacities to be a good and loyal husband and be a good father, especially a protective father, I think, believe.
Okay. If you could explain to someone what it's like inside your mind, what would surprise them the most to discover? Maybe you cannot say that here, but closer.
I believe the first thing you will be impressed is the capacities of doing something in rational ways. I want to say, um, these things is like, you do something, you don't even think about bad consequences. Just like a leader, you need to do something. Just do it. And if you look at it, very often people ask the question, "Oh, is that even possible to do that?" Uh, so I think you would be impressed to do these things that feel hard for you and to go to sleep, put yourself into the bed and sleeping in 2 minutes, not feeling anxiety, something like that, no feeling remorse. I think you would be impressed to live this kind of life.
Some people say that when you have this kind of emptiness, boredom, when you are in that state, that the because you guys don't feel much as we do, is very neutral. So it feels like, how do you explain that? For me, that must be bad. Like, because we feel too much. At the same time, sometimes I wish to not feel as much as I feel, because I
Mhm.
suffer a lot in some kind of situation, and it's not good at all. And I keep thinking maybe, having the balance, and I try, it's getting better, but it's not easy.
Yeah, but I think sometimes you feel too much and sometimes I don't feel too much, So this is kind of a balance, like you said, because I never asked to myself what it's like to be you, but I see sometimes that you feel pretty embarrassed by some situation, etc.
Like what? Talking about me or us that has empathy? I don't understand what you're saying now.
Yeah, yeah, like all the people that have empathy, you're gonna feel bad in some situation, and I thought to
No.
myself, they feel pretty embarrassed or something like that. They feel sad or all the things. And I feel myself pretty good. And I'm like that. They feel pretty sad now, So sometimes it's interesting to look at person feeling these ways.
Can you give an example so I can understand better?
Yes. Like, how do you see it? When somebody died and you do this ceremony, etc., you see all the people gonna be pretty sad, pretty embarrassed, and you're like, I wonder what I'm gonna eat tonight. And all the people, because I've understood that emotion are pretty something that give to each other. It's contagious. I don't know how to say it. And me, it's like I got a vaccine, and I see all these people this coming at me, and I'm like, yep. But it's sometimes it's embarrassing because you need to fake that, and if you don't fake that, people are gonna look at you, they're gonna say to you, don't feel sad, and you're like, yes, but I don't showing it too much.
But when you see us feeling like those kind of thing, and we crying because we miss the person, because we love someone, and now we're not going to be able to see that person anymore, or have that person anymore, you look at us and see is as an embarrassing for you, is embarrassing. Is that what you said?
It depends. It depends on the person. um if it's a stranger to me, yes, I feel embarrassed because you know it's quite funny because very often the people who are very emotional gonna come at me to talk to me and to cry with me, etc., and I'm like, guys. And sometimes it's embarrassing, yes. Yes, because I don't understand.
Uh-huh. That's funny. I had a situation in my life, one of the biggest one, and the first person came to my mind was this friend that I told you a few times here in this live, and I called her, and I was crying and crying, and she was listening to me. And then she said, but this is what the person said, but that's not the final answer. And that took away from me. It gave me hope. So God, I believe God used her life to help me, because
Maybe.
She was rational at the point that just look at the whole thing without putting her emotions there, and that's what I was needing at the moment. And I felt so comfort, and I felt, oh, it's hope here, and I just believe in that and took it to myself, and I put myself back to normal. And I keep always thinking about that. And that's the thing that also we get caught sometimes. I had another friend that she was like, I like to give examples. She was always like, oh, Chris, I love you, da, da, da. I'm always here for you. But she was never there. When I need, I call, but she was good saying it. Say that, lindo, beautiful. I said something in Portuguese, I'm sorry. Beautiful. And when I need, she wasn't there, but she would just come once a year in my birthday just to say she's my friend and she cared for me. Every year, my birthday, she was there. I'm always
Mhm.
there, Chris, right? And then it was one situation, one time in my life that I really need some help. She offered to do that, to help me. And every other things that she would do, there was just a red flag. Like you said, you feel it. The instinct was there, letting me know the red flag was there. And I was like, Chris, how can you think about that? She was nice to you that time. That time, the only time. So I was focusing on the good time, the good things that she did for me, and all the bad things I cover over because she did that good thing. So she's not bad. She helped me, so she must be good, right? So I was,
Yeah.
it's amazing how we do to our mind too, we sabotage ourselves sometimes.
Yes. I think because of emotions, you know.
Yes. But
Uh,
at the same time, it's so good to feel emotions, and if
yes.
you had a child, let's say, I don't know if you can imagine that, but if you had a child and they pass away, it will never happen. I'm just giving something for you to imagine. Would you would you feel anything, or you would be not crying at all too? No feelings? It's like, okay, it's time. Bye, son. I make another one next week.
I was just about to saying I'm gonna do another one. No, only joking. But um, maybe I'm gonna feel a loss. You know, something that miss, something that's just gone, and you know,
A part of you, right? Because it's just a
yes,
continuation of you, right?
yes,
Somehow.
yes. Not the same way as another human being is gone away. No, it's a part of me. So it's very strange for people to understand. I understand that it's strange for you, but I think that would be the way I'm gonna see things if that happen.
Now, another question that just came up here. If you have two child, let's say you have two boys, would you like both to be psychopath, wish to be both empathic, or one each? What would you be if you could choose?
I would choose them to be psychopathic because, yes, because if I want their best interest, if I have their best interest in the heart, I know that if they are psychopathic and if they are well educated by myself with my experience, I think I can create something very powerful and very new on this planet.
Wow, I think nobody ever asked that question before. And
No,
I think it's your
nobody.
first interview with a woman, right? Or did you do an interview with a woman before?
No, I've done another interview with Lad Bible, and that was a woman.
Okay, I didn't see that one. Send it to me. I want to see. It was somebody else that made a question here that I thought it was kind of neat. Let me see if I can find. What do you do when you walk into a room and realize there is someone else with the same predatory, that's the word she used, predatory nature as yours? Would they be a threat, a target, or an ally to you?
I want to say they're not gonna be my friend. Because just put two lions in the same cage, that's gonna end up very bad. So I don't believe that I can be friends with them. Even I don't believe that you can ignore them because if they got the same belief as you, they're gonna take action. I want to say so. It's come back to the natural way of life: kill or being killed.
And now I'm thinking here about your wife with a husband that is psychopath, with two boys, they are psychopath. So imagine that with me. And how would be you? You're not going to be able to manipulate and touch the emotions of your kids. Don't you think it's going to be a war there in between the two boys and you two? And that mom, oh my gosh, I'm thinking about her. She doesn't even exist yet, but I'm thinking, how would
I
it be?
think I think this is a situation that needs some kind of therapy, family therapy or something like that, because um, if they are too possessive with the mother, etc., that's gonna be a mess if we don't go to therapy, I believe.
Yes, imagine you with the kids trying to teach them and make them do what you want them to do, and they just no, I'm not because I know what is best for me. So it's gonna be a challenge for you too, right?
Yeah, that's gonna be quite a challenge, but this is not the first challenge I take, so I believe everything is possible if you believe in it.
You said something in the other life too that I thought it was really neat. That when you see a psychopath in the room, it's not gonna be the one hiding on a corner. It will be the one that will make you laugh, make you feel good about yourself. You're gonna like to be around that person. Can you say something about that in a little deeper?
Yes, because very often people think that psychopath gonna be um, too much predatory, like watching you not saying something and just looking at you with the eyes of a shark. And very often it's not the case. Very often the psychopath gonna be somebody who gonna say things, make you laugh, uh, gonna be the center of the room because of his charisma and something like that. Um, so because of Hollywood, people think that psychopath cannot have a smile, have something like that. But in fact, if you just go to the restaurant and there is a psychopath, you're gonna have a good evening, good talking, good conversation, pretty good evening, I want to say, because you're gonna tell to yourself, this person is very sympathetic, uh, good conversation, etc. So you get this good impression, and you're never gonna tell to yourself, this person is a psychopath. This person is just funny, very charismatic, etc.
I don't want to go to that side because I'm not comparing the level you have of functioning, but Jeffrey Dahmer.
Mhm.
Oh, let's go to my house to drink
Yeah,
some more beer. And then, okay, go and never leave, right?
yeah.
Most of them.
It's part of manipulation, but I think it's part of this thing of you know first impression, etc. So you need to have some pretty naive person in front of you, but not always.
So narcissists are very similar in this charisma and trying to love bomb you. How can you tell the difference? Can you say that somehow for you it's easy to find out, right? But for us, what would be the difference in this? So you guys are more like level up in the manipulation, doing all the things that looks like above any doubt, right? It's like, oh my gosh, this person never would do such a thing, right? BTK, the wife, even the wife and the daughter said, no, my father, no, it's the wrong person, right? Ted Bundy, the same thing. He became Mormon. All the church went to the front of the jail, like, he's good, he's good.
Yeah, because I believe a narcissist is gonna manipulate for the eyes of others. The psychopath gonna do it for the self. I want to say, self admiration, himself admiring himself. So it's level up because if you don't do that for the eyes of other, it's like in business. why do you want to be rich? You want to be rich because of a nice car, because other person gonna look at you with envy? No, if you do it, you're gonna have bigger result. If you do it just because you are motivated by it, because you are connected to something bigger. So if you manipulate just for yourself and not the eyes of other, it's just level up because you are really motivated.
Okay, a question that I did here that I thought it was really good. I don't know what you're gonna think about it, but why do people that has those diagnoses shift the blame onto people and not take responsibility for their actions?
Um, because I believe that that was my way of seeing things. If you are better than anybody else, and if you think that it's killing by before getting killed, you can quickly rationalize things. You can say yes, but yes, but something. Because if you don't have empathy, if you don't feel remorse, and you tell to yourself it's just the way of nature, I want to say that it's pretty easy to make an excuse or to create some kind of um, is story that tell others person that you are innocent in that because it's just a way of function it.
It was a moment that when you were younger that you thought emotions were not good. I don't know if psychopathy, if you were born like that, I think this is something that already comes up. But I see a person that said that once, and they have some kind of behavior similar to psychopathy and or narcissism altogether there, and they had a trauma in their family when they were young, both of them, but one is more like a psychopath, the other one is still like hugging and stuff, the other one don't, is more like,
Mm.
um I forgot I was going to say. Catch me, help me to remember what I was going to say. Oh, and one of them told me emotions are not good because I think by the traumas they experience, they believe that if I feel, I get hurt. And why I'm
Mm.
saying that, because it's another thing that happens. Like, I need to kill before they kill me. But for you to think like that and see the world like this, I think it was a point maybe in your childhood that you were like, I have nobody. It's only me for myself. I cannot count with nobody. I have nobody to defend me, to protect me. When I need the most, nobody was there for me.
It's possible. Yes, it's possible. There was something unconscious, to believe that there was nobody to defend you, and it's a realistic, I believe, realistic way of seeing life because nobody gonna defend you. And just if we look at the world we live in, um, it's a world that is pretty mean sometimes. So I believe, I firmly believe that my way of living and my way of seeing things is um, more rational, but more connected to what is real.
For you, right? What is real for you in base of your experiences or just
No, I think this is the way of seeing life. I believe that if psychopathy exists, there is a reason. So uh, I think this is something from ancient times, something that is very ancient, very ancestral, I want to say. So I believe that at that time that was necessary to be that way, or maybe to protect yourself, etc. So I believe this way of feeling is the real way of living. Because if you look at psychopathy at the time, if you just need to earn to find something to eat, etc., psychopathy is not relevant today because we are in this society of consumption, of instant result, of instant gratification, and taking pleasure. So it's a society that is very, I believe, um, not in the real, but in an illusion, I believe. Because this way of living and this comfort can end up one day. So when we're gonna be in this time of real hard things, a lot of people gonna be in trouble because they're gonna be too empathetic, you know.
Hmm. And if it is a purpose, what do you think is the purpose for existing psychopath in the world?
In the past, I think we were maybe sometime great leaders, or in a tribal, etc. I believe that still today, a lot of psychopaths are great leaders. I want to say leaders, not great, because there is no great leaders in our world now. But I believe that if you get psychopaths that are capable of now feeling different and seeing things different, shaping history and shaping maybe civilization, etc., this is an evidence that psychopathy is necessary, because you cannot do that without being strongly convinced that you are maybe choose by provenance, maybe somebody who is capable of doing that. So I think this is kind of a lesson maybe for normal human beings, that there is something to learn in psychopathy.
Okay. Sometimes I think I want to believe, but it doesn't justify the behavior of the people. They still decide to do the bad things, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Because free will is there, always gonna be for all of us. And even if you're born with this, right, you still can choose what path you're gonna
yeah.
follow. Did you ever read the Bible or got curious about it?
No, never,
Never. Because
never.
as an American guy, he has a channel on YouTube. He talks about psychopathy. He's a psychopath too. And he said in the Bible, he's Christian too. And he says the book before the I forgot in English how it called, but before the last one, Revelation, is I forgot the name in English. I will find out here. It just I don't want to demonize or Judas. I guess it says the same way. A book before Revelation.
Mm.
It says describes psychopath right there. The whole because it's only one chapter. I'm curious about. I asked the other lady that I interviewed to read that and let me know what she thinks, but she didn't do it. And that's one thing that I see that happens a lot because I go. I'm gonna just tell you what happened to me when God revealed to me that psychopath narcissists exist. It was something I say is a revelation from God because I would never find that by myself, especially because it's the way I look at others. I will always look at the good side because of my empathy. I always love people and see the best. And so it was no way for me to wake up in the morning and say, oh, those people, they're different.
But
They think who they are.
what is interesting is a lot of Christian people come to me and ask me to read the Bible or something like that, and I often tell them, yes, but if God created human at His image, I'm created too as it at in His image. So I'm like, what is the point? So, you know, it depends on the faith, etc. But I never read the Bible because when you are a baby, you got this thing. Oh, how do you call it? When they put water onto your head like that, something.
Baptism.
Baptism, yes. Because my mom wanted to. My father was not really a Christian. And now I'm not a Christian. I respect Christianity, especially in Europe now. So I respect Christianity, but my belief is more in Northern tradition, with God of War, God of knowledge, God of magic, God of wisdom. So it's totally different.
Yeah, it's good that you said that because I was doing another day meeting and we were talking about that. Yes, we all made by one creator. It's only one creator. We all made at his image, as you said, right? But when the enemy, devil, whatever you call Satan, came up and say, "Hey, God told you not to eat this fruit from this, from this tree, because otherwise you're gonna die." Oh, it's not true. It's because you're gonna know what he knows, the secrets. You're gonna be wise. Okay, so then Eve decided to try, and she said, "Oh, I didn't die. Here, eat too." Right? And he said, "No, no, no, no. See, I'm alive." Not that kind of death God was talking about, because they disobey. Then now we all born as a sinner, right? I didn't want
Yeah.
to talk about this because I got crucified in the other life with the lady, because I talk about a little bit about that, but we are talking the same thing. But anyways, I will be quick. So anyways, um, because of that, now nobody's good without God. Nobody's good when you're in your flesh. When you go by your flesh, the desire of your flesh, you're not good, because you want
Mm.
things that would be good for your flesh. I used to have addiction, smoking, and other addictions that I used to have. Then thanks God, I conquered them. I don't have them anymore. But I used to have for years, and it was really hard for me to leave. Without God, I wouldn't be able to do it. But anyways, now we are all created by God, but we are not all son of God, you know, because once that happened, okay, now we're gonna die. All gonna die, right? The second death, because the first one we all gonna do for sure, but the second one, not everyone, right? Free will again. We can choose. The decision we make here will change our future in eternity. That's what I believe. But anyways, um, few people talk about the spiritual side. And going back to what I told you, when God revealed to me, I was like, oh, I felt guilty before, because I was like, this friend, she's kind of evil, but I'm not perfect. So how can I think I'm better than her and not be her friend anymore because I see the evil things she did, while I do evil things too sometimes, not as bad as she did, right? But I'm not perfect. After God revealed that to me, I was like, oh, wait a minute. Now I see this is something more than a character, because she knows what she's doing and she still decided to do it. So I don't feel guilty anymore, no compassion. And I just give zero contact and move my life away without feeling bad for it, because, and I wish the best. Because I wish the best for everyone. But that's the point when I go to the spiritual side, because I say, God, I want to know, who are those people? People close to me, really close. And I go,
Mhm.
I love those people. What happened? Oh, trauma. Okay, God. But then I have trauma too. So why I'm not a psychopath or a narcissist or a sociopath? I want to know. You create me like this. I want to know the answers I need to understand. So what does that come from? And then I go to the Bible, and that's where I see the other side of it. Okay, because we cannot ignore it. And I think the science together with the word of God, the truth that set us free, that's what I believe. That's when it made sense to me. The whole thing made sense. And even if let's say a homosexual, I don't know if you're bisexual, but a lot of the people that has this diagnosis, they are, right? Thanks
No.
God. But I mean, I'm not being, I think the thing is in a character. That's the most important thing. But If a person say, sometimes they say they are born a homosexual. Most of the time, I see is trauma. Sometimes they get abused by their like another gender, right? And then they become homosexual. But some people say, I was born like this. I know I was born like this, right? But they can decide, even like you guys, I believe, can decide if you're gonna behave like that or if you're not gonna behave like that. It's your
Mhm.
choice, right? But what I think is, I don't know what it is, but um, it seems like in this diagnosis, it doesn't have the fear of God principles that you're gonna say, oh, this is not right, because antisocial says that you go anti-society, right? The what they say is right or wrong. For you guys, it seems like it's okay. You don't see what is right or wrong. Everything is fine.
Yeah, it depends on the belief and on the faith, because I think it's quite difficult because, I firmly believe there is this something that is called providence, but religion are simply the child of human beings. So uh, maybe the providence is there, but the providence didn't create the religion. That's my belief. So I think that being antisocial is not freeing the will of God or the will of Satan, etc. Because you're telling to yourself, yes, but the religion is created by humans. So God don't want you to be moral, etc. No.
Yeah, that is one thing that I see that people get confused too. Religion, religious, like, oh, you wear earring, you put makeup. That's not from God. You being, some people are religious. This
Mm,
is different than the real, the truth God, the Creator, Jesus that came to die for our sins. That's why when you talk about the little things that you said there, that's what makes me think that you guys not predestinated to die, you know, the same way. I see the difference in you now. If you're totally honest, and I believe you are 100% saying that you're capable today to not, to choose not to do where your impulsivity comes up. Okay, if that's truth, because I don't know if you're familiar with that, but in the Bible, in the beginning, Cain and Abel, right? Cain was the first psychopath in earth. So
mm,
God came to him and say, "Hey, you almost doing something that is not good, but you have power to choose to not do it." Do you think the Almighty God will go and bring conscience to him if he already knew he was predestinated to come here and do all the things that people do, né, with this diagnosis, most of them manipulating and faking what they not, and things like that, if it was not a way to choose? Because otherwise, only us have free will and you guys don't, and you're predestinated to go to hell and burn for eternity. I don't believe that. This is not the God I believe, not the creator that loves and is
mm.
justice, right? But let's stop talking about that because I know it bothers people and it might bother you too. But I'm not trying to convince you. It's just me and God having always this conversation because if I, if if I know that it's no way and it's something that you guys decide and that's it and it's evil, I would not lose my time to talk and do interviews anymore, right? Because I already
Yeah.
know it's there and why? What's the point? But me, maybe it's my empathy, maybe it's me wishing the best, maybe, I don't know. But we don't have all the answers. But if it is a way, because I believe it is, I don't think people are predestinated to go to hell. You might born this way, but I don't think God, the Almighty God, will send psychopath like, oh, you guys gonna go, you're not gonna feel love and empathy, and you're gonna live there, and then when you die, you go to hell. Is no chance for you. That's why I believe it's a way to choose. You have the capacity and it's a choice. But if you tell me, as the other one said, no, it's no way I can be different. The lady I interviewed, she said, Chris, even if I know even if I want to be different, it's impossible because my brain works different. But then I go back to the Bible. Me, too. I cannot do things and get out some stuff without God's help. But if the person thinks they are God, how are they gonna humble themselves and say, "Hey God, I need your help. I depend on you. I'm not all of this. You are the creator above me." But you guys, I don't know, something blocks this connection that I believe it is a purpose. Of course, everything that God's um, permits permit is for a purpose. But I believe doing what you're doing now here, we talking, I'm learning from you. And if you allow yourself to learn from me too, I don't know if it's possible. Or you thinking this girl, who she thinks she is? She's just talking and talking and talking.
No, I'm just telling to myself that some psychopaths can choose their behavior, others don't. I don't know why, but for me, it's kind of now a way of living to choose what I'm do, what I'm not gonna do, etc. So when I hear somebody telling that they're different, but they cannot do something, I don't believe so. I don't believe so.
So maybe they just in a phase that you were before, that it's fun to do what you're doing. You're getting what you want. So why change, right? But now you think different because karma comes back. This psychopath friend I had, she said, "This is the things I did before. Everything we do here, either you believe in God or not, sometime, some moment will come back to you. Good things and the bad things too, right? Life is a cycle, and what you do come back to you. Maybe it didn't happen yet, but in the future it might happen, right? Don't you believe in that? What you do, good and bad,
Uh,
come back.
no, because I'm born with the bubble of chance. This is something real. I'm born with a little thing around the head that's called a bubble because there was a bubble and that exploded just after 1 second. And the doctor told my dad that was the bubble of chance. And very often these people are pretty lucky. So I want to say that I don't believe in karma because if I don't believe in something like that, simply because I've always been lucky in life, even by doing bad things. So very often I've learned that a lot of people that are pretty kind, pretty honest, are unlucky. Very often.
I don't believe that. I don't believe that. Because what is unlucky for you? Give an example what you believe is being unlucky.
Because, there's some kind of people, they are always kind, always generous, always give themselves to others, do for others, but their life looks like shitty. They always got mess, always got something. They got a car accident, they got something, they all these things. And you do something, it always get good result. You don't have something bad that happening to you and you are always lucky, and I believe that some people are born with a good star.
That's amazing to see how you think. But sometimes I think that before we come here, right there in heaven, God says in line, "Hey, Chris. Hey, Loic. You're gonna go to Earth. You're gonna be born in this family that I chose to you because I have a bigger purpose. Do you choose to go there and have everything you want, not having problems, just live the time you have in Earth? You're going to conquer everything. You're not going to have problems. You're going to feel amazing. And then after that, you die. That's the end. Or you prefer to go, It's gonna be challenge. It's gonna be suffering. It's gonna be hard moments in your life. You're gonna not like it so much, but if you keep going and trust in me, you're gonna conquer eternity with me forever. What would you choose? I sometimes I think that the decision maybe we do before we come here, right? Because it seems like nothing. Oh, let me tell you, before I was in I call the kingdom of light and kingdom of darkness, right? I was in kingdom of darkness before. I used to do things that God doesn't appreciate. I was not doing conscious and purposely, right? But I was doing things that was not good for me, that God wasn't happy, right? And I knew it was going to be hard when I make my decision to do different, to choose to follow God, to do things that He says it's better. And I know it's better, but I don't want to do because it's not fun, right?
Mm.
So I pay the price and I keep doing it. I have a lot of things that you said that you believe is being unlucky, right? That if you look at the other side, you're gonna, okay, I'm learning something here. This situation was hard. Oh my gosh, I don't know if somebody would like to be in my place. Than I was before. Today I see things different. Before I was doing this, now I don't do that anymore. Right? So I feel good about myself. Before I used to smoke. What is smoking would bring to my life? Nothing. That's what the enemy wants me. That with my traumas, I get the sensation of pleasure, which is an illusion because it's going to be temporary, but over time it will kill me. As you said, I can choose to do the hard thing now and have something better in the future, or choose to do the easy way and have consequences, right?
But yes, like I said, it depends on the belief. But if you believe in Gnosticism, the big thing is faith doesn't come from pray or prayer because you don't have sins. You are already divine. The divine part is in you. So if you believe in Gnosticism, and that's why I love Gnosticism, and I tend to got this faith is what you call God is actually the demiurge, Yahweh. So a lesser divine, even if it's divine, it's a lesser divine that imprisoned us here in the materialistic world. So what is optimistic about this way of living is you don't need to call all the sins, etc., because what we call sins is not knowing, is a lack of knowledge. And if you got the divine knowledge, you don't need to pray. You just need to be conscious about your divine nature and to be united with what we call the creation above. So
So
that's
you
what.
can be eternal, right? If you're divine, you can be eternal. You will never die. See,
That's not the question. That's not the question. The question of Gnosticism is it's a gift to die because you are delivered from the material world and you just go to what is called the connection with God. So if you are reincarnated in Gnosticism, you are imprisoned. So if you live forever, you are imprisoned. So Gnosticism is against materialism, but that's a spiritual concept, very complicated. But that's why I believe Gnosticism is a good way of living because it is very enthusiastic and very positive in the way of um, not thinking that human is fundamentally bad.
yeah, in that way, okay, but then it's good for only for yourselves, not for us, not for the whole society, unless you do what you're doing.
No, because if you believe in Gnosticism, what is called sins and bad things is just because we are imprisoned by the lesser God, Yahweh or Demiurge. telling you that it is sins. So it's complicated to talk between Gnosticism and Christianity because this is so much different. But by the way, very often in Christianity, they've destroyed all the proof with what is called in 1945 the Egyptian um, Gospel of Thomas, etc. Because there was something very interesting. That's a far more different concept because I think it's a way of controlling some people by telling them that they are sins. So I think it's a way of controlling them by telling them you need to pray because you are sins. You know, in the middle age, especially in Europe, if you were telling that you are sins, you got a lot of control over people, especially in Europe. You know, anybody can write, maybe the priest can write in Latin, can read in Latin, so they can teach you. They're gonna say to yourself, guy, you need to pray because God needs you to pray, so you need to give me money, etc. So it's a far more different concept, but Gnosticism is, I think, very interesting concept of religion.
It's a lot of the people that are in church today that they do such a thing. They are people that don't care about others. Not all of them will be psychopaths, but most of them, yes. They like to be as a leader in church. They like to get money from people. And that's how a lot of people get out of church and stop believing in God because they get hurt by people,
Yeah.
but it's not from God. So God looks the intention of our hearts, right? And that nobody can hide from him. We can hide from people that we live to, but not from God because he's the creator. But anyways, um, I'm almost done. If you have a few minutes, I just have two more questions, I believe, and then we can finish.
You see,
Um,
I told you I love to work hard. It's midnight here, so I think
wow.
it's the definition of working hard and do some things miles away, step further.
Yes, yes. You sleep well, right? Because some narcissists they say they can't sleep and they don't let their husband sleep or wife sleep because they
Oh
you sleep good.
my gosh, I had a girlfriend. She need to take Valium to sleep because she was very anxious, etc. Has problem. And me, I put myself in the bed and maybe it takes 1 minute and 30 seconds for me to sleep. So no anxiety, no thinking in the head. So I put myself in the bed and I sleep directly. I'm not hearing you.
Oh,
Uh,
sorry. Now it's
No
good.
problem.
I clicked something here that I didn't supposed to. A lot of people were asking me to ask you if you can tell about this part of the manipulation. Um, when you get into a relationship, I mean, not you today, but when you were before in a relationship or the people around you that you know has psychopathy, um, when the victim start to realize that's not so good to be with this person and they start moving out, getting out of the relationship, why you guys don't let them go is because of the control.
I need to be honest, really honest. It never happened because I was getting what I wanted. And after that, I was just living because it's not this mind game or something like that. So I need to be honest, it never happens to a girl leaving me. That was the other way around.
Never happened. It might happen sometime in your life. I don't wish that for you, but it would be interesting to see how you feel. You let me know how would be the feeling. Would you think you? But let's say about the other people, not you in this case. The people you know that has the same diagnosis. Why do you think they do that? And sometimes they fake they're gonna die. I'm gonna kill myself, and they feel fake they are depressed, stay without eating for days just for the
Because
person
they lose control, they lose
control.
control.
Yeah.
Yes, they lose power, they lose control. You know, if you see the person you possess fleeing around with somebody else, this is pretty kind of an humiliation and something like that. So
And in case you are with someone or were one of those that you were before and they decided to leave, what do you think you would do?
find somebody else.
You would let them go? Easy like that?
Yes, because I think that being after somebody is sometimes a weakness, you know. If a person want to leave, just leave. So the door is always open. Because if you start to stalk somebody, to work after somebody, to run after somebody, that's you are the weak person, I believe.
Yeah, but in some cases they don't like to lose control, and they will get like they will threat the person saying they're gonna kill or something. The lady I interviewed, she said she did that. Not that she was gonna do it, but she did told them, if you leave, I'm gonna kill you, to intimidate, and then they don't want to leave because she had a plan and she didn't conquer that yet. Even when the guy cheated on her, she still stayed with him. I don't understand, right? Because the plan was to get what she wants. And until she got it, she wouldn't go and let him go.
Not all psychopaths are the same. I see.
Yes, yes, that's true. And women are different than men too, I believe, and the
Yeah,
manipulation. Okay.
yeah.
Somebody asked to ask you if you could press a button and become an empathic person, would you press it? Why?
Never, never. No,
Never.
never, never, never. Because I'm happy like that, and I'm live a cool life now, far better than in the past. But you know why I would do that?
But let me tell you, let's say I was there and the way I know I am, and I was close to the button and I go and push the button and you go, right? Imagine that. You're not liking it. Look at his face. But imagine that. And it's wonderful and you love it. You go, my goodness, I didn't know it was that good. So I want to be here now from now on. I don't want to go back there because it's bright, it's
I would
colorful.
say I would say that if you know that I'm happy like that, that would be sin to do that. So you need to pray
Say it again. So I didn't catch what you want to say.
that if you know that I'm happy like a psychopath, and that if you push the button for me, even if you know that I'm a psychopath and I'm happy like that, that would be sin, and you need to pray because you do that even knowing that I'm happy like that. So
Wow. Now, I'm just thinking about that because if you ask me if I want to become a psychopath, I would say no, never, because I don't appreciate the way you guys behave. Not you, because I don't want you to take it in person because it's not. I'm not talking about you because you're already not there because you're doing therapy and everything. But most of the cases, they choose to be there and keep doing the easy way and get what they want. And it seems like nothing happens, no
yeah,
karma. I heard this karma thing with the psychopath. She was 48 at the time, so it took 48 years, but he got there. I'm not wishing that, but it happens, right? Um, why? eh, I suffer. I wish if I could not feel so much as I could and have a little bit of this part that you guys, but not totally. I think the balance is what makes it good. Because not having at all feelings, empathy, love, I can, and at the same time, having too much is not good too because we suffer too, right? But we don't have this burden thing. I mean, sometimes I believe we do feel like that. I used to say that until Jesus is in us, the Holy Spirit and God is in our lives, we still empty. I believe our emptiness is the size of God. Once He is in us, then that's when. But you still have difficulties. It's not like, oh, you accept Jesus now, you happier than ever. It's a miracle. No, you even suffer even more sometimes. But now you have His help, right? Before I was just fighting by myself. But anyways, it's funny to see that because you don't want to be like us, and we don't want to be like you, and it must be a purpose for us to be different. But I believe whatever it is that you guys do, manipulating and things like that, it brings us closer to God. Because when you have no more control, because we're strong, um, we stay in this relationship, we suffer, we still try, and we do everything we can do until we are almost destroyed. That's when we say, God, what is this? I need help. I cannot, I did everything I could. I don't have a strength to keep doing this. I'm going to die here. That's when you call the Almighty God. He comes in and everything changes because now you're better than before because now you have the knowledge. Now you know those people exist. Now you are, in the Bible says one thing that is, I don't know how to say that. I'm going to translate here. Prudent as a serpent, right? It says, be prudent as a serpent. Now I am prudent as a serpent, right? So that's the thing. Now I know what I'm dealing with. I know what's going on. I know this person is like this. So it's my choice too. It says one time you manipulated, it's your fault, right? Your fault. The manipulator
Yeah,
fault. Two times, then it's your fault because now you
yeah,
know and you
because
are.
yeah.
Uh-huh.
Um, I don't know if it bring you more closer to God. Like I said, it depends on the God, especially and the tradition, etc. But I think being like that is good because you know being able to manipulate like that, it's like not a gift, but you need to be good at it. So it's something that not all people are capable of.
Uh-huh. Yes. Um, and the last question, what makes you lose your cool? Like nothing irritates you, makes you explode, like lose your temper. What gets you the most?
It's very hard for me to lose my temper, but uh, y- you know, in the past, somebody was looking me in the eyes too much, especially a male. Somebody who is interrupting me in a conversation. That was really something that really bothered me. So I believe that was these two things, impulsivity, etc. But now to lose my temper, it's very difficult.
Do you have any curiosity about us that you like to ask me?
Mm, why do normal human beings, sorry, um, that are sometimes calling themselves open or empathetic, are so close-minded in the stereotypes? That's a question I often ask myself: is why is they permit themselves to judge and to be like we are the morality, we are the good, and to tell that yes, but you see what I'm saying, that they cannot put themselves and saying to themselves, okay, this person is different, so maybe it's not perfect, but he's working on himself, etc. This is a question I ask to myself very often.
I don't know if I got everything, but I want to ask you a question, and then you explain better to me so I can answer you that question. But imagine the world and no, how can I say the commandments, right? No law. You feel like you want to kill someone that is bothering you? Would you think twice? I would maybe because I think about others but if there was no jail, you're probably gonna kill the person, right? Imagine the world, how would it be if there was no law or no sin, no fear to God, right? How would it be? Devastating. It would be terrible. It is terrible already. Even only gonna be better when Jesus comes back and he take over it. That's it, because we are not capable of it. We are human beings, unless you say you're not a human being, right? But I believe you are. We all are. Flesh, bones. We are here, the same earth. For how long? Only God knows. It's His timing. We are breathing because He allowed us to breathe. Tomorrow He decided we're not gonna wake up. We're not gonna wake up, and that's it. Where we gonna go after it? I know where I am, and I'm not better than anybody, but I make my choice, and I believe in God. And judging, I don't judge you. I'm understanding your mind, and I used to judge you guys. If you saw my videos, because I know you studied me before coming over here. If you saw my videos, and I was so angry because I had my wounds and I was putting on the narcissist because now it's a justice I'm doing because, but it was the anger that was inside of me from my childhood too, right? Now I can see that. So I believe you guys come to our lives and do whatever you guys do for whatever reason. But at the end, because I don't give the honor to you guys, I give to God because I ask God to help me, right? So then God comes into it. And then I start aligning myself with Him. And then things start getting better. I get stronger. And now I have the knowledge. I can help other people to have this knowledge, and it's amazing that you're here and allowing yourself to come and talk to me and to everybody, the whole world that will be watching this video, because I'm learning to love, you know, the way
Mhm.
you are, trying to, praying to God to show me the truth. If it is, uh, I don't really know, but I used to judge much more, and it's wrong. You're right. It's wrong for us to judge. But at the same time, God teaches us to judge in the sense of if that's coming from him or if it's coming from the evil, because that judgment is important for us to have. That thing you said, the instinct we have, right? That we feel something is odd, that something is not right there. This is the Holy Spirit telling us. This is the power we have. And this is the biggest power, you know, that is eternal. And it's no one that can win from God, right? From the Almighty God, the Creator, that create all of us. And I thank God for you for being here. I thank you for giving your time to be here and to be honest. And I appreciate that you. So I wish I was there to give you a hug. I don't know. And then, I don't know if it's a good idea, but this is how I feel, right? And you might think you like hugs. You probably don't like it, right? Touching.
I don't like physical, touching, etc. I'm not into that.
Never being like that. You don't remember even when you were a child, when your mom or dad hug you or somebody hug you. Never really like that, or it was something that
My
might.
mom, that was different. My mom, that was different.
What?
But
What? Your mom was indifferent? What you
my
said?
mom, that was different.
Oh, she said you were different. Oh, I got it. Oh,
Yes, when she was hugging me at something. But other person, I was not accepting it.
and to finish, before you finish the whole thing, if you can, tell how was you in a relationship, right, with a woman? They would come. What are you looking for? Sex? It was priority for you, or to get something else from them? To you never look to destroy them, right? If you did, you
Uh,
were never gonna tell, right?
No, the goal was not to destroy them because you need to care so much of a person to destroy his life or her life, you know. So my goal was, yes, sex, but I was searching for something more profound, you know, more bigger, somebody who is loyal, who is on your side until the end, you know, even if you do great things, do bad things, this person is with you forever.
I know a person that would do that. God,
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Jesus. What you said?
I don't know this person.
You know,
No, who is this person?
God, Jesus.
Oh,
That's the only
uh,
one. Uh-huh. No
yeah,
human being would do for
but
that.
that's bad because I love women and don't love men. That's
But you think it's not possible? It doesn't exist. But how you wanna have someone like that if you understand? If you're not giving the same, you want something that you cannot give. Like you want somebody to do everything for you and love you, but
because I firmly believe that a girl can love me and I can love her in my way. Because what is what is this thing of love? I can protect her, I can um, care of her, etc. So I can do such thing, and I believe this is my way of loving and seeing love.
and what were you not getting from those ladies? They didn't love you enough. They didn't do, or it was something that is never enough in you because
No, I was not in this state of mind. I was not in this state of consciousness. Now I am, so I can understand that uh, the more is not the better. So I think now that being in a relationship with a girl who is loyal, who love me, it's enough.
hmm yes. Do you believe you love yourself?
Of
Love, love,
course,
love, real
of
love.
course, of course, because if you look at it, I was always putting myself first and finding myself exceptional. And I think when you are in love with somebody, I think you put this person first. You find this person exceptional. This person got all the qualities, etc. So yes, I firmly believe I love myself.
But when the person loves you more than herself, then you don't respect because this person is giving away herself to put you first, right?
I learned a lesson that sometimes the more beautiful things are not the healthier. So sometimes the most powerful and the most beautiful relations are not the most good for health or for what is called morality or acceptable. So sometimes something more powerful, very more powerful, and not always good for the mind or for the health.
And what is love for you? What it means for you?
It's difficult for me to put words on that because I think this part of my brain is not connected to my part of the brain who can speak. I don't think it's possible for me to put words on that.
You know, one time I interviewed a sociopath and he gave me an example that was like, wow. He said, you know what love means to me? Look at the door or the window. And I, okay, I'm looking. What do you feel? I said, nothing. Unless the doorway was given to me by someone that I like, I would feel some kind of feeling for the door. But otherwise, I feel not exactly. That's how I feel when you say love. It's the same when you look at the door. Is that for you the same? That makes sense to you?
No, I don't believe so because I want to say what a strange answer to say that because uh, if you heard what I said, I talk about something powerful, a powerful combination. My way of seeing love, I remember now, it's a symbiosis. I talk about the spider and the frog. Do you know the symbiosis of the spider and the frog? The spider got eggs, and the frog can protect the eggs because she gonna protect the eggs, and the spider gonna protect the frog because the frog protect the eggs. And for me, this is a symbiosis, you know. And if I need to see love, I want to see love as a symbiosis, something powerful, and not always in terms of emotion, but of lived experience, and something that we are got in commons, etc. You know.
But if you see the world as I gotta kill you before you kill me, how is it gonna be possible to happen?
But because some people after time can be examined or can be studied, and you can understand that this person doesn't have these intentions. So when you do that, you can understand that this person is not with bad intentions, and start the creation of confidence between two persons.
Okay. You were asking me the question there, and I don't know if I understood the whole thing, but basically, you were asking the curiosity you had from us is why we judge things, and we put ourselves like, how can you be so empathic, right? And judge people as you are superior, right, than us. Is that what you were asking us? Me?
Not superior, but um, in possession of. I don't believe in morality, but the universal, how to say it, universal truth or something like that.
So in my case, I can say for myself, I believe the word of God that was writing by the disciples through the Holy Spirit. And I am happy when I see things that makes God happy, you know. So if he's happy with justice, when I see justice, not justice like somebody's being punished because they were bad, no. Most of the time when I see justice, especially with the people that I told you that I was having relationship with, it was not God punishing them because they already suffer enough. Not maybe not the psychopath, but the narcissist and sociopath, they do. But it was not allowing them to conquer what they wish in the people's in my life and the people's life that they were. I think God protects their his kids, right? In case I believe I am the daughter of God. If you ask me who you are, I'm a daughter of God. He's my almighty father, right? So he protects me. Even I go through difficult times, he's there and he helps me to pass through. And at the end, I learned something and I can help others. So I think the way you see us and get curiosity about the way we are is the same kind of thing that we also look at you,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
guys. And why it's like that, I don't know. Only God knows, but I believe one day He will let us know. Please, God, I
Maybe.
need to know.
Maybe.
Yes, I believe so. So I don't want to take your time any longer. It was a blast to have you here. I thank you so much. You are
That was a
so nice.
pleasure.
You are so nice, so polite, so charismatic.
So
So
charming.
it was a pleasure since the beginning. Since I saw
Yep.
you, I feel a good thing, and I wish you the best. And I don't know what else I should say. I'm sure people said things here and they ask questions, but I think it's too much already, right? Unless you want to stay, but I think it's
It's 20 past midnight, so
yes,
uh, I'm going to sleep. And
yes.
why not?
Maybe another
Maybe.
time. Maybe another
Yeah, with
time.
pleasure. With pleasure.
You know what? I want to challenge you. Two things before we finish. One is if you can read that passage in the Bible that I asked you, because I want to know if whatever you think about it, if it makes sense or not. If you can, I challenge you about that. And another thing that people ask me to do with you, if it's possible, is Chris trying to get him with the other lady, the Brazilian lady that she got diagnosed with psychopathy too, together at the same life. I don't know why they ask that, but I think it might be different. Or bring your father like you did before, or your mom. Your mom wouldn't do it, right? She would. It would be. I
Uh,
know.
uh, my mom would do it, but I don't think she's good enough in English. I don't think.
Oh, so maybe I
But
get a translation in her language. We can try something. It would be amazing. But
yeah, yeah, because I appeared with my father on interviews, but never with my mom. So that could be cool.
I think it would be great, amazing for her to
Yeah,
say because a mom is a mom, right? She
yeah,
was there, right, since the beginning. So thank you so
yeah.
much.
Thank you so much for having me, and that was a pleasure. And thank you to your audience too. So maybe next time. And that was really cool. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much. I
Thank you
appreciate
so
that. Thank you,
much.
guys. Sorry about not giving
Good
the time
evening.
to do answer questions, but next time, okay? Good night. Bye, guys. Thank you.